This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio with Stuart Cameron.
Well, hello and welcome to Scremerston and Berwick upon Tweed for Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio. I'm Stuart Cameron and the team are here throughout the next 3 hours to bring you the latest score updates, live commentary from our featured match today between Berwick and Peebles in National 2. It's a real historic match as the two teams haven't played against each other competitively since 2010 when they were both in the Border League competition. Well, a lot of water has gone under the bridge since then and both sides are now in the second division. And the added intrigue is that Berwick haven't lost here at Scremerston since 2017. So plenty at stake today, and right off the bat let's go down to pitch side and bring in our reporter today, Micki Iannotta, who's going to be talking with Peebles player coach Ian Chisholm. But first of all, Berwick boss Colin Young.
Colin, they don't come much better than this, do they?
No, it's great to have a border derby back at Berwick. Like we just said there, it's been a long time, so the boys are hungry for it, and so is the coaching staff.
What's it been like in training? I mean, has there been that extra eagerness for this one?
I think I don't know about the eagerness, but I think the boys have been pretty relaxed this week so far. The trainings went well both Tuesday and Thursday. They're relaxed in the changing room now as well, so we'll just have to see how it goes in the next hour or so before the kick-off.
And you made a good start, 2 wins from 3, just losing your opener.
Yeah, I think it didn't help us. Obviously, we had a delay. We didn't kick off the first week of the season just due to an accident on the A1, and we couldn't get to Hamilton. And then the week after, with the Queen dying, all postponements of rugby. So we went into Boroughmuir probably undercooked. Paul and I, as coaches, probably learnt a lot as well about the step up that week from Division 3 to Division 2. But we've looked quite useful after that, so pretty pleasing, and the boys are responding well.
You mentioned there you've been looking at the step up. What have you learnt about this division?
There's no easy games. Division last season, there was probably 3 or 4 teams that could beat each other on the day, and then there was a few that were probably not as handy but could still cause an upset, where every week you've got to be on your mettle, and obviously the breakdown I think is just that a little bit quicker than what we've been used to, but generally it's just the week in week out pure battle to the finish line.
You mentioned breakdowns there. I was here 2 weeks ago for your game against Falkirk. It did look to me as though Falkirk were going to run away with it, but in the second half you dealt with the breakdowns, you changed your style of play. Did that really galvanise your season?
Absolutely. I think just before half time of that game we kept them out on our own try line, and that gave us the big boost that we needed, and we did change slightly how we were attacking, but yeah, and then going to Last Wade, obviously we know quite a bit about Last Wade, playing them 3 times in the last 3 years or so, so we know what Last Wade's about, but a real good 1 point win last week on the road just means a lot, momentum building now, 2 for 2, really taking the first week out of the season.
Now, I did notice when Stuart mentioned right at the very start this unbeaten home record. When you look back, I know it's hypothetical, but do you rather now wish you lost your first match at home just to get that thing about always being unbeaten at home out the way?
No, not at all. We want to keep that. This is our fortress for 5 years, so hopefully we make it 6 and 7.
I've got to say, your last 2 matches too, not many team changes, so you have kept to a settled side more or less for your last 2 games.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. The guys are 100% committed on the weekends. Obviously, we will pick up 1 or 2 injuries, which we have done as well, but generally unscathed, so which is consistency, which is great.
This is a bit of a rotten question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you feel as though Berwick now have reached their level, or can you now kick on and get even higher?
No, we've not reached our level. We believe down here that we are a little sleeping giant, really, and we've got some great talented boys who could easily step up to the next level.
But you don't think today, win or lose, will break your season? This is just really your first big local derby of the season, well, your first one for 12 years.
Yeah, so no, like I say to the boys week in and week out, we do this as a hobby. It's going out, enjoying ourselves on the pitch, and really taking the fun out of playing rugby and play with a smile on your face. And if we've gave it our all and the result doesn't go our way, all I can ask, we've gave our all. So the boys will be looking to play a bit of rugby today like we always do, and what result will come, we'll still have a pint in the bar with the People's boys afterwards.
Talking of the People's boys, can I be cheeky and ask if you've noticed any weaknesses that you can exploit in their setup?
No, look, I don't really do social media or YouTube to watch any of the performances that they've put in this season or even last season. So, look, we'll just knuckle down and try and find them weaknesses.
Okay, well, Colin, all the very best today. I'm going to say the same to Ian, but thank you. Enjoy the game.
Cheers.
Okay, Ian Chisholm is just shaking hands with the opposition there.
Weaknesses.
Oh my word, he's been eardropping. Ian, 4 wins from 5. How you can't grumble, or can you?
Oh, of course, I can grumble. Away form. Speaking to a lot of the boys and speaking to some of the old guys as well, Peoples don't travel well, and we've tried to fix that today. And I said in an interview on Thursday or Friday, we've made wee adjustments this week, and for these guys, the Saturday's the easy part. It's the Monday to Friday that they really struggle with, and that it's not going to happen overnight. No, I'm wanting to try and change habits around S&C, around nutrition, around the things that they're doing away from work, because you can't. It's a really physical game now. You can't expect to turn up on a Tuesday and a Thursday, perform on a Saturday, and then have 20 pints on a Saturday night and go home at 5 o'clock in the morning and then just turn up on a Tuesday and expect it to go again. So we need to have a look at our habits through the week, and one of them is how we travel. So we thought we were going to be a wee bit late down today. 2 o'clock's good for us, but because of the travel, we're looking for boys to get a wee bit of a blow on before we start, get the travel out of the legs. But look, I'm not overly happy with how the style that we're playing. I think that we're coughing up way too much ball, we're turning over way too much ball, and we're creating a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, we're not executing. And you know, the Saturdays when it matters, the Tuesday, Thursdays, we're grand. We understand our shape, we understand the tempo, understand how we're trying to play. But for me, we need to start seeing that transfer into the Saturday.
Rome wasn't built in a day. What do you hope to do shorthand that will benefit you long term on the pitch?
Shorthand, so our S&C programme, which runs on a Tuesday and a Thursday, so that's just half an hour for forwards, then half an hour for backs, and we get an opportunity to work on unit skills when the forwards are in or the backs are in the gym. That gives us a wee bit more clarity on how we're trying to play. Look, we spoke about making tiny little adjustments to our attack to make things a wee bit more simple. We've not been able to have a full team run yet, simply because of injuries, unavailability, work. So, you know, we've maybe had 10 of our starting team max at training and having to fill in other boys into there, and that has an effect. You look at our twos team last night, there was very few of them that have actually been to training. But again, success for us was able to get a team out. So short term, we need to create a lot more clarity, both attack and defence, and we're getting there defensively. We just need to make sure that we make really good decisions around the breakdown today.
Sounds as though you want to get things done very, very quickly. Do you think some of your players are trying to over-impress you and complicate things? Could that be a reason?
No, I don't think so. I think old habits die hard. You know, teams in this league, they want you just to play one out pass and carry, and they're quite happy to defend that. So we need to play a wee bit more differently. We need to be a little bit more clever with our kicking game. The guys are really buying into what we're trying to do, and they're good at challenging me when they're not sure of stuff, so it really challenges my ability to coach. But look, I think, like you said, Rome wasn't built in a day. When we will get there, and for me, I just need to be a little bit more patient around when it happens.
Can you do that though?
You've got to have high standards. Like, I want to win. I'm not here to just muck around and, you know, come middle of the table. I want Peoples to be in that one. One, because it's a much more attractive league to be in for recruiting players. But then, if you look at the rest of People's Rugby Club, they're absolutely flying. And the part that needs to catch up is the senior squad. And once we do that, we'll have a better opportunity to keep our players.
And just a word about Berwick too, because obviously they're new to this division. It's certainly not going to be like it was 12 years ago when I think it was about 84-0, is it?
No. They'll be a physical side. We've had a good opportunity to look at a few of their games. They play off 10 a lot, which we see opportunities with that. We also see opportunities that will come for us in the last 20 minutes and half an hour if we're able to keep the tempo high. But look, defensively, you'll hopefully see us. So, we'll talk about filling and killing. So fill the field and kill them with our line speed. The thing that's been keeping teams in the game for us was that we're giving away nearly 20 penalties a game, and it's amazing that we're still winning while giving away 20 penalties in the game. So big work on for us this week is to reduce that, but also focus on our D, and the attack will take care of itself.
I'm going to say the same to you as I did to Colin. All the very best today, and thank you very much for chatting to us.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you very much indeed to Micki. Well, Stuart McFarlane and Robin Purdie are in the commentary box this afternoon. They're here now, though, and they've both been listening to what the coaches have to say. And starting with you, Stuart, this match has been building up nicely, isn't it? A real opportunity for Berwick to climb above Peebles today if they get that bonus point win and also stop Peebles from getting anything out of the game. Almost unheard of a few years ago, and it shows just how Berwick have progressed over the years with promotions and of course that big Shield win at Murrayfield, which has really brought the club back into the mix again, isn't it?
It has. I mean, rugby down in Berwick goes back to 1926 when the club was originally established, and it had a presence up until the outbreak of the Second World War, where alongside the likes of Hector Thompson's cycling club, it was two of the clubs to disappear during World War II. But as you say, after 1968 and after a series of league reconstructions and adjustments made by club personnel, they did in the early part of the 2000s begin to find some real success, and that in many ways has continued on the last 20 years or so. 2 Shield appearances at Murrayfield with success in 2004, and the most recent one you're referring to there in 2019 with a thumping win over Greenock Wanderers, and probably the most entertaining game involving a border side of any of the finals that have been played, and that is saying something. Of course, they were Scottish Cup semi-finalists since 2006. They've brought international players through. Gavin Kerr, of course, in excess of 50 caps for him. Cammy Smith, not as many as that, but into the teens of international caps. They, through Mark Lee, had a captain of the Scotland Commonwealth Games side in 2002. So individually, they've certainly brought through some really good quality, high-level performers. Collectively, they've had some success, and I think it's all about survival for these clubs. Peebles are the very same. There's fine margins between success and continuation season after season and going under, and they seem to have the balance just right.
Absolutely. Well, Robin, you were obviously listening to the two coaches as well. It's great to be here, though, isn't it? Taking the show on the road into England and dipping our toes into National 2, and why not as well? But this one's so tough to call.
It really is, Stuart. Berwick, it's absolutely a fortress here, but a lot of it's been done in the lower divisions. Peebles are more accustomed. This is Peebles level. Let's be honest, but you just can't call it today. Berwick, I don't know which way it's going to go. I really don't know which way it's going to go.
Because the interesting thing for me was that Berwick comfortably beat Falkirk, who have now beaten Glasgow Accies, who were unbeaten at the top of the table. So it just shows that, it's the old cliche, I know anyone could beat anyone on the day, but also throw into the mix this unbeaten record going back to 2017, and you've got real cocktail of something special to happen today.
Oh yeah, there's all manner of permutations in this league. It looks, that's the way it's shaping up thus far. But yeah, it definitely will count for something. Colin mentioned the word fortress, and it certainly is that. But yeah, it's just too difficult to call today. There might be a slight erring towards Peebles just with their experience at this level. But you factor in the 5 years unbeaten, and then this is anybody's game.
So Stuart, can Berwick actually take the scalp for Peebles? Because we were looking in the history books. I don't think they've they haven't played each other that many times over in the history. Berwick's only been going just over 50 years now, but I don't think we've seen a Berwick win over Peebles. So is there going to be a mindset there?
Often is a mindset when you come into something like this. It's it's a barrier. I don't know how many of the players necessarily know that detail. I don't necessarily know how many of the players would care anyway, because you're just looking at what is in front of you in the next 80 or so minutes time. We as we are sitting here don't know who's playing outside centre for Peebles at the moment. That's not been confirmed, but the players will know what has worked for them at home in the past against the level of opposition that they've come up against, and they'll adopt, I'm sure, a very similar set of tactics today. The pitch is in excellent condition. It's they're slightly breezy around Scremerston, but for a match here, it's almost picture perfect. And Peebles will come in with, well aware of the circumstances that it's not going to be an easy game. I mean, there's only Kirkcaldy after playing 3 matches that are unbeaten in the league, so there's going to be scalps. There's going to be a lot of results that will raise a few eyebrows. I don't know how much of a surprise it would be if Berwick were to win today.
OK, well, after the break, we're going to be previewing the rest of the local rugby this afternoon, because it's a very, very busy time.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Hello, this is George Ingles here, and I'm thrilled that my songs are now available on 2 albums, Anthology and Lockdown Blues.
Late in the evening, she's wondering what clothes to wear.
Both available on iTunes to download and stream.
I am the train, been gone since 69.
George Ingles Anthology and Lockdown Blues. Check them out now on iTunes and other digital sites.
Hi, Nicky Walker here, Curriculum Learning Manager for Sports and Outdoor Activities at Borders College. Have you ever considered turning your passion for sport into a rewarding career? If so, then why not get in touch at borderscollege.ac.uk/sport.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available, featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 Years On, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features, including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, The Complete Borders Railway, is available now.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio with Stuart Cameron.
Yes, let's turn our attention to the other matches involving Borders sides this afternoon. I spoke with Dale Clancy to go over them, but let's start with the Southern Knights, who play at 5 o'clock this afternoon at Golden Acre against Heriots in the Super 6. And head coach Bruce Ruthven gave us his thoughts.
Looking forward to going up to Heriots. We know it'll be another tough challenge for us, but something the guys are really looking forward to. We've competed really well against the Ayrshire Bulls and Watsons the last 2 weeks away from home. And the guys fronted up and shown a really great attitude. Pro players Jaco van der Waal in the Kortrijk coming from Edinburgh Rugby in at number 1 and number 10. Robbie Deans starts, gets his first start for the Knights, coming in as a tight head prop with Isaac Brake moving to the bench. Harris Rutherford will get his second appearance for the Knights off the bench. Paddy Anderson returns to the bench after an injury spell, but apart from that we're pretty settled with the rest of our squad.
It's a 5 o'clock kick-off at Golden Acre, and it's been a difficult season for the Knights so far. Can they turn things round?
No, I don't think so. I've been quite impressed with Heriots in waves and fits. They've got a big, burly pack. You know, they've got ex-Southern Knights wingers and backs in there that can unlock the defences. So I think Heriots are a class above. The introduction of Van der Waalt's an interesting one for the Knights, because that's been a big weak link of theirs. I think losing Baggett has been huge for them. I think it's only really been realised how much of an important linchpin he was for the Southern Knights, because Cam Scott I'm a fan of. I think he's a good player. I like the way his passing range is really good. He's inventive as well with the boot. But Van der Waalt's obviously a professional coming back and going to lend his experience. The Knights have had a horrible time, and I think it's been made even worse by the Wolves win against the Bears on Friday night last week. It's making it really, really difficult, and I think it's just a matter of now preparing for next year, because they're not going to be in the top 4. They're not going to be competing for those places. So it's almost like the gloves are off. They can they can just throw caution into the wind, because Heriot still have something to play for. They're still looking to try and get, maybe into that third place so they can play the runner-up in the regular championship before the playoffs and whatnot. So the Southern Knights, there's no pressure on them, but it has been a campaign with not a lot of positives. There's some, but there's not been a lot.
One game after this, home to Stirling on the 15th before the playoffs, which they won't be involved in. Currently it's Ayrshire Bulls on 36, Watsonians 34. Then a huge gap to Boroughmuir Bears on 22, Heriots with 16, and then another huge gap to the Knights and Stirling Wolves just on 5 points. These are big gaps though, aren't they?
Yeah, they're huge gaps, but the gaps have come because of something, and I think the Southern Knights one is the mass exodus of all the players that left. That's been triggered by something which has left huge holes in what was a successful setup up until that point. It's just not been a promising campaign for the Knights. The one thing that is promising that I really must stress and highlight, Aidan Cross and Sam Derrick.
Absolutely.
Is in that team. I think, last year we were covering it in National 1, and when I've ever been watching the coverage or been involved in it, they've not looked out of place at all. The introduction of Ben Pickles has came in. He's maybe not really been lucky with injury and whatnot. Kieran Clark has maybe not really pushed on as well. But Aidan Cross, he's been scoring a lot of tries, and Sam Derrick has been carrying a lot of ball. He's looked a find for the Southern Knights, and which is good. Losing players like Moody and whatnot, you needed somebody who's going to just truck it up, take the ball forward. They'd have been able to recruit around about that, but Sam Derrick and Aidan Cross certainly need a mention in terms of their efforts this season.
Of course, it was interesting looking at the social media as well, and it was very much 50-50 regarding Stirling Wolves and Duncan Weir being drafted in. A lot of people hated that, and they said, well, that's not what Super Six is about. And others said, well, this is great because the youngsters can learn from the experience of Duncan Weir.
I was at the game. I got asked pretty much the same question, and on one wing you had Kerr Johnson, young 17-year-old from Gala, making his debut for Boroughmuir. I'm sure it was full starting debut. Now, what other test are you going to... He was against Walter Fafita. He was getting kicked down the throat of Duncan Weir. Now, that's great for him. Just because Duncan Weir's coming back and playing at that level, he'd contributed well. You could see he was a very good player, but he contributed to what was a really good game. People goes, it's meant to be a pathway for young players. Now, if you've got a path that leads to your house, I'm pretty sure you don't go up the pathway into your house and never leave again. You has to work both ways. You have to go back down, and that's where this little melting pot of players in the Super Six works for me. I am a fan of it. I like the level of rugby. I like how it's got professional aspects, but it's got the rawness of amateur players there, and that's what excites me, because they're high scoring, they're high energy, they're physical, but they're also, there's a lot of innovative play. It contributed from players like Duncan Weir, but also the rawness of somebody like Kerr Johnson. It's brilliant to see.
Well, let's concentrate on the Premiership now. All three Borders teams are at home. We'll have a camera at Mansfield Park for Hoyk's game against Mar. Hoyk, the only unbeaten team in the table and yet in 4th position, while Mar are 6th. Long home record to defend for the Greens, and the Bill McLaren Shield once again up for grabs. Here's Hoyk head coach Matty Douglas.
I think it's one on Saturday that we're really looking forward to. There's been a good buzz at training this week after a good win last Saturday up at GHA. I think week to week we're getting better, and we can see that as a coaching team, and the players can see that as well, starting to buy into what we're trying to bring in. And from the Selkirk game to now we're really progressing, so we know how hard this is going to be. Mar are Premiership champions. They've won at some tough places and maybe haven't had the greatest starts to the season, but they had a big win against Currie on Saturday, so they'll be full of confidence. I know Craig will have them ready to go, so for our front we just need to get our game plan right, and they're coming to Mansfield, so we need to be ready and match that and try and play to our strengths. So it's one that as a club and as a coaching team we're looking forward to and see where we're at as a squad. Team selection wise, forward pack stays the same for last weekend. Logan Gordon-Woolley comes onto the wing for Finn Douglas, who is unavailable. On the bench, Stuart and Ross Graham are both unavailable, so in comes Rory McLeod after a few games with the Force. He's really stood out, so great to see him back in the fold, and Lewis Ferguson comes onto the bench as well. So on the whole, it's a very strong squad and consistent this week. So as I said, as a coaching team, we're excited to see where we're at as a squad this week.
Well, that Mar result, beating Currie last week, will have certainly injected some fire into the Mar side, but they've lost twice this season already.
Yeah, and I think, after the conversation about the Super 6 League and talking about, how distant it is, you go into the amateur level and it is a lot tighter, and I think that, if you've got an appetite for tight, close leagues, then the Premiership is almost like what last season's Nat 1's like. The Mar upset and Currie essentially is an upset. Mar are the reigning Premiership champions, and they defeated Currie last year, so in terms of we're only a few months removed, it's not much of an upset, but Mar have struggled to hit the ground running this year. Currie have looked good, but they've conceded points. Hoyk are undefeated, but as you say, they're in fourth, and Edinburgh Accies have been putting in some results as well. You can't discount Glasgow Hawks as well. They've absolutely houked Musselburgh last week. So it's another big congested league table. National one is equally as congested, but those teams, and sorry, but I've completely disregarded Selkirk, who have surprised me this season as well, getting a good win on the road against a Blues in a game that they probably could have and maybe should have lost. They were able to claw it back and win that game after a narrow defeat against Edinburgh Accies, the week removed from that. So, every team I feel can beat every other team in this league, home and away. And perhaps to the argument, Jed as well. I think Jed are good at home, but maybe not as good on the road. But they can, it's an interesting league. And this game in the Premiership, the Hoyk playing Mar is an absolute cracker for anybody who wants to just see blood and guts on a rugby field. I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Now, it's interesting, of course, talking of Currie, and particularly as we do the updates during our live commentaries as well. Currie were way down to Musselburgh and way down to GHA, but they've managed to come back and win those games. But just to see them in that position early on, where they're not kind of getting out of the blocks, is very intriguing.
Yeah, I think it's good to see them vulnerable, because last year they were almost like impregnable. You couldn't score any points against them. Hoyk managed to beat them in the opening game of the season at Mansfield Park. I think it was at home, and from there they then went undefeated, and they went undefeated all the way until the Premiership final when they got beat by Mar at Millennium. It's good to see that they've got that vulnerability now. Obviously, I think Fergus Scott, their captain for many a year, he's retired, and he's obviously going to be a big loss, and they're maybe going through a little bit of a change in terms of personnel because they have lost players to Super 6. But a team like Currie, if they want to be the top dogs in the Premiership and they want to be like what Ayr were and like what Heriots and Melrose have been for the last few years, you need to go through these transitional periods. You need to breathe through these players. You need to provide that, that platform for really quality players to play for your club and represent and compete at the top level. And this is a top level amateur rugby. And Currie this year at least look a little bit vulnerable. All teams, I think, look a little bit vulnerable.
Well, Selkirk, they're hosting GHA. Now, they were beaten by Hoyk last week at Bradham. Selkirk edged past Heriots Blues at Golden Acre. So how does head coach Scott White approach this one?
Got a wee bit out of jail last week at Golden Acre. We gave them 2 penalties. Now, they had a shot at goal to win the game 18-17. Thankfully, we managed to hold on and win 17-15, and something that we didn't do a lot of last year, win on the road. So, to get 4 points up at Golden Acre's a huge plus for us. And now focus has changed to Philip Hawke this week, to where we played GHA. There's a few guys away on October holidays this week, so the squad, it'll be a wider squad effort. We've got Josh Welsh, Henry Clarkson away on holiday, Matt Reid still unavailable, and then in the forward pack we've got Andrew Cochrane away on holiday and Scott McClelmont away at Tupsdale. So jiggling about in terms of positions and people potentially playing out of position at the weekend, but at the end of the day it's about putting a squad out on the pitch that hopefully we can get some points against GHA. The biggest focus for us is this week come with a newfound energy. I think the last couple of weeks we've kind of been off the pace, and we're still looking for that consistent 80-minute performance, and we've not managed to do that this season. So that's been at the forefront of training this week. We had a look at ourselves on Tuesday night, and training's been really positive this week, and there's been a real good reaction. So look, I'm really looking forward to Saturday. It's a really crucial week for us, with teams around us in the league playing each other. So it's a great opportunity for us to get closer to the top of the table. And then you've got to look at, then we've got Mar away and Currie at home the next again 2 weeks, so that's obviously going to be tough. So look, it's a really important week for us, but one the whole squad's really looking forward to is getting into GHA.
Well, while Selkirk played well enough to get the points against Edinburgh Accies when they lost out, perhaps things evened themselves out a little bit for Selkirk, winning late at Golden Acre last week.
Yeah, I think obviously I think Scott White has hit the nail on the head there. He said that they've won a game that last season they probably wouldn't have, and I perhaps took that into my analysis before the start of the season, from their form from last year, and it's nice to see them turn it around, because that's a game that they would have lost last year that they're being able to win. The Inverrackies one, I think that, they're difficult at home, Celtic. They have always been really difficult at home. So, they're going into this weekend, although they're missing a few players, you would imagine that they're going to be strong enough to be able to put away GHA, because it's a couple of big weeks coming with Mar and Curry. Mar away, it's such a difficult atmosphere. It's very intense up there. But Curry at home, you would fancy Selkirk to think that if they can keep the squad nice and fresh, they've got a lot of quality players. When you look at their squad now, on paper, even with the missing players this week, their squad is strong. And if you go into a game against Curry, that they've, Musselburgh were able to put a lot of points past them and get them in a really vulnerable position. Selkirk would equally be able to do that. But this next 3 weeks could be a big say and have a big say in where Selkirk are going to be playing the rugby for the rest of the season in terms of what their targets are. If they can get 2 wins out of 3, they're going to be looking up the way. If they only get 1 win out of 3, they perhaps could be looking at mid-table and thinking, right, we might be out the picture here for the playoffs. But it's going to be a big October for Selkirk.
Certainly, if they play that 80-minute rugby game, which Scott is craving from his squad, then I think they'll just be a little bit too good for GHA. But as we saw, GHA went to Curry and scored 40 points, so you just never know. The other Premiership game, of course, involving a Border side is at Riverside Park, with Jed Forest at home to Heriots Blues. Jed head coach is Andrew Brown.
Our last game out was disappointing, given the effort to come away with nothing. To be dominant up front again and hold Ackies to 14 all at half time, the game was ours to be taken. But we know how difficult it is on the road. Usually it's Jed that are stronger in the second half, but I feel Ackies came out a totally different team, a bit like they did the week before against Selkirk. This week we'll be looking to put right the wrongs from last week, as it's a must-win game for us this week, and to try and make Riverside the fortress that we want it to be. Be looking for better control and trust in the game plan and the systems in place. Have a few changes this week, which is unfortunate. It'd be good to get some continuity and get the same team out each week, which is proven to be challenging. But out of the pack, Gregor Law, Gary Young, Blake Roth and John Story are all unavailable, but in comes Ben McNeil, who's really dynamic, and Matthew Atkinson adds the bulk, along with Jamie Hind, who again is a big strong guy. So unfortunately, I'm just missing from the backs is Lewis Walker, but Gregor and Lewis Young are both available, which only adds to the experience. Again, we'll be looking to capitalise this week on the fact that it is a home game. Any team travelling's already at a disadvantage, a 20-30% disadvantage. So hopefully we'll come out stronger this week and take the game to Heriots and get the victory.
Andrew Brown, and what are your thoughts on that one? Shame to see Lewis Walker out, because it's always good when Lewis gets together with the other Lewis Young and Gregor.
Yeah, I think just having the Youngs back, good. Obviously they've been in and out the squad so far this season for reasons unbeknown to me, but I think that they're at that stage where they're still able to contribute, which I think is great for Jed, because they are really important players. Lewis Walker is a really, really good player. I think when I watched him at the Sevens, I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, how I was liking the thought of him playing 13 and playing into fullback as well. Coming into the line, and he's a playmaker, but he's got a good bit of pace about him. So obviously he's going to be a miss this week. But it's one of those games that you welcome the Youngs back, and not just to put it on them. The loss of Gregor Law is a big one as well, but they've got a big pack. They've got a bit of form as well going into this. Yes, they've not won a lot of games, but they've been scoring tries. I think they've been doing a lot better than perhaps I maybe gave them credit for. Heriots like to chuck the ball about. They like to play a bit of rugby. They've got a big pack as well. So I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout between the two teams. But again, Riverside Park is a hard place to go, and Jed love playing at home. Got to win your home games if you want to try and go up the table.
Well, I mentioned the Super 6 table. What about the Premiership? We've got Curry 21, Inverrackies 21, Glasgow Hawks 21, Hawick 20, Selkirk 16, Mar 15, and then it dips GHA 7, Jed 7, Musselburgh 3 and Heriots Blues 2.
You know, we've not got a real context of the league, but last season in the Premiership, I think we had 2 games to go and we still didn't know who was going to be finishing in the top 4, which is exactly what you want. And it's nice to see them all fighting out at the top. I think the teams that are there are the teams that you would have thought would have been there at the start. At the moment, I could not pick a Premiership champion.
National 1, and a very pleasant sight with Borders clubs in 1st, 2nd and 5th, meaning that currently there are 6 Borders teams in the top 15 of Scottish rugby.
Yeah, I think it's great. We've obviously, in National 1, in the Premiership, we've got a cluster of teams there, and I've been pretty vocal in terms of saying how exciting National 1 has been. The Kelso obviously picking up another great victory on the road last weekend when they played Stumel. It was a cakewalk in the first half. Made to work a little bit harder in the second half, but it probably highlights what National 1 is. It's great to see so many Border teams in there fighting for it as well, especially the 2 up the top.
Well, let's hear from Stuart Johnson first, head coach of Gala. They go to Biggar to try and do what Kelso did at Hartlepool a couple of weeks ago and come away with all 5 points.
Definitely be a tougher fixture than last weekend. Hartlepool's always a really tough place to go and get a result. But we were boosted by the return of Tim McAvanagh in the centre, Callum Pate at fullback and Graham Dunn at number 8, with James Glendinning also coming back onto the bench. Russell Kerr continues at 10 after performing well last weekend, and young Gregor Collins gets his first start of the season on the wing. Well, apart from that, we're a very settled squad. So now we're going to Hartlepool full of confidence off the back of 4 bonus point wins, but we know that it'll not be easy, and Biggar will be hurting after 2 tough games the last 2 weeks against Highland and Kelso.
Well, you must fancy Gala, who are on a roll at the moment, and Biggar not really firing.
Hartlepool is a difficult place to go. I think it's a difficult fixture for Gala, but the form, the table, it does point towards a Gala victory. They've been very impressive, and you know, there's not a lot of players in that team sheet that are household names in terms of really I think you look at Kelso and you've seen Andy Tate for a while, you know, you've seen Bruce McNeil, Frankie Robson, you know, spent a bit of time at Gala. These are players that you go, I really know them. But there's players that we'd seen like James Glendinning, he's obviously on the bench this weekend, but he was a player that I remember watching in the Shield final at the Dam Health last year, and I thought he was a tremendous player. You know, he was, I think, playing hooker, had a lot of pace, a lot of power. He was like a wee dynamo, and they're the sort of players that are coming through. So when we went to Gala last year before their 7s, they were on about this one club mentality and going through in the same direction, and I think they've aligned very, very quickly, and it's so good to see because these players are now starting to make a name for themselves. You do see them, you know, really start to stand out, and they're starting to be etched on the minds of, you know, rugby spectators and rugby fans, especially in Gala, which is great to see.
Well, Kelso, they're at home to Highland this weekend, who are going well in 4th position at the moment. The last time they came to Pointer Park, though, they were beaten soundly of over 40 points. I don't think we'll see a repeat of that this time round, though. Here's Director of Rugby at Kelso, and that's Neil Hinnigan.
They're only 5 points behind us in the league, so they've got a bit of a target on their back. So, they'll be looking to close that gap or even look progress in the league, so that's how big a game it is. Last week was a good win up at Stumel. We played well in patches, especially the first 20, but I think overall the players and the coaches and staff and everyone involved at Kelso were a little bit disappointed in the second half performance last week, and we've been disappointed in other aspects of our game at different points through the season so far, and we know we're not the finished article. We've got loads to work on, so at the moment we're just concentrating on working on the things that we are getting wrong and emphasising the things we're doing well and the positive side of that, and trying to build on the good stuff slowly and quietly, but obviously try and get better at the things we're not so good at. And one of those sort of things where if you rest on your laurels in this league, I think it could catch up with you, and there's 3 teams go down, so you've got to keep finding results and making sure you're at the right end of the table, and that's what we're looking to try and do. Team is quite settled this week. It's the same starting 15 as last week, which is great. On the bench, Morgan Thompson drops out, and so does Aaron Jackson. They both just to get more game time with the 2s. On an exciting note, Ashton Asante, who's only 18, he moved up from the Quins last year, tight head prop. He comes in for Morgan Thompson to get an opportunity, and he's been training and playing well for the 2s, so we have to give him that opportunity, and it's a real positive for the club to get a young prop like that into the mix and see what Ashton's got. So I know he'll be looking forward to it. And Mark Wilson returns from a trip last week. He was away and missed out, so he comes back in on the bench for Aaron Jackson.
So it'll be a big win if they can do that.
I know Neil Hinnigan's got a bad back, but he constantly seems to be looking down that table as opposed to up, which I find quite amusing because Kelso have been really good. You know, they're sitting up in second position in the league. This is an opportunity to put a bit of daylight between them and Highland. But, you know, from a squad point of view from Kelso, and obviously Neil was alongside me at the game in Inverleith last weekend, the mentality that they've got and the way that they're managing the squad is really interesting because, you know, they're trying to get game time for players in the twos. You know, they've got a good rotation. You see Ashton Asante coming in onto the bench, getting that rotation. I thought Morgan Thompson played quite well when he came on. So obviously they want to try and have that rotation, which is a complete luxury in amateur rugby because they've got players that they can rotate out. Aaron Jackson came on, he'll get game time in the twos. Mark Wilson comes back in. So obviously, you know, they're in a very good position in terms of squad depth. Sometimes you don't have to have 15 world beaters in your starting lineup and 4 poor on the bench, and you know that can sometimes make you unstuck. They seem to have a great buy-in at the club at the moment.
Well, Melrose are beginning to find their straps after a stunning win by 64-11 over Aberdeen Grammar last Saturday. Remember, Aberdeen Grammar were a Premiership team this time last year, but they're 8 points adrift of Gala, 7 away from Kelso, so they'll need to start consistently winning games. Here's head coach Bert Grigg.
Obviously we travel up to Dundee this week after a fairly comfortable home win versus Aberdeen last Saturday. Hopefully get our first win away on the road this season, which we haven't managed to do yet. A relatively unchanged match day 20 with only James Brown changing, with Archie Pilcher in the starting team, the forward pack and the rest of the back line unchanged. Ben McLean comes in on the bench to provide that hooker cover after recovering from a dead leg, and we see the return of Harry Mikowski, who provides a bit more variety in our backs coverage on the bench. So yeah, looking forward to a good game up at Dundee. Obviously they off the back of a win away at Stirling, they'll have their dander up getting their first win of the season, so it's going to be a tough trip for our boys to pick up that win on the road. But yeah, prepped well this week and hoping to get the result come 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon.
So they're at Dundee, who lost at home to Gala but put 40-odd points on Stirling County last week on the road, the same Stirling that beat Melrose. So those results don't really make much sense, do they?
Yeah, I think that's probably where that little area of that league is. I think up the top it's going to be interesting. I think the likes of Ayr, Gala, Kelso, I'm surprised Biggar are not doing as well, but probably those 3 teams, it's going to be nip and tuck between them. And I think, you know, the rest of them, Aberdeen Grammar look pretty poor, to be fair. Watsonians look like they're a little bit wobbly as well, but Melrose will want to keep building on that big victory against another city team, Aberdeen. It certainly shows the difficulty in terms of, you know, in that Caledonia northern region of Scotland, how difficult it must be to sustain a club, because likes of Morgan FP, I think it was Morgan, they've folded, have they not? They're not a club any longer. Dundee have kind of amalgamated and rebranded, so you know it's difficult times up north, but Melrose will be hoping to try and take advantage of that.
Let's have a look at the East Leagues now, and in Division 1 Duns at home to Broughton, sitting at the bottom unfortunately with -3 points at the moment. In Division 2 unbeaten Langham will play at home against Christophin. Now Langham are behind Livingston but have a game in hand, while Christophin are in 3rd place. Here's Langham skipper Nathan Smith.
Sees the end of a 3-game block at home, which we've won 2, along with that first game of the season away at Livingston. Another win there, so we're still unbeaten for the year. The buzz is really good. We're confident. We're chucking the ball about no matter what the weather. We seem to be really clicking in attack, and what was quite shaky at the start of the year, we seem to have sturdied up the defence. So we're looking really good going forward. Christophin, a team we've looked at and identified that they'll probably be the main challengers, along with Livingston as well. They're going really well, but them and Christophin, they're probably going to be the nearest challengers, we would say, come the end of the year when we're looking at the top of the table. But we're unbeaten and playing really well. We're coming off the pitch every week, still knowing that there's something more that we can give. So we're just excited. We really want that to click as well. Hopefully against a top team this weekend. But we're looking good. We want to keep that unbeaten run going, and we're confident we can do it.
That's Nathan Smith, captain of Langham. Well, no game for Hoyk Lundin in East 2, but in East 3, a derby between Earlston and Hoyk Harlequins. And also in East League 3, Galloway M take on Edinburgh Northern. Here's player coach Stuart Walker.
We're obviously looking to build on our last win against Liberton in the Bowl. Didn't play last weekend, but we're looking to really build against Edinburgh Northern on Saturday, who are always tough, and they've had a good start to the season with a couple of wins, so it'll be a tough game. It's our ladies' day, so socially we're really looking to have a big day at the club off the pitch, which is something we've been trying to build for a while now, so we're all really excited about that. But first and foremost, massive game against Edinburgh Northern.
Well, finally, a look at Kelso ladies, who won their match last Sunday against Corstrophine Seconds. So that's 2 from 2 for them. They're away to Lismore. Let's hear from Kelso captain Donna Borthwick.
Both of us are really similar teams. We've won 2 and they've also won 2, so it'll be a really good match and we're really looking forward to it. We have played them before in the past, so we kind of know what they've got to offer, so we're really looking forward to going up there and bringing home the win again and making it 3 from 3.
OK, that's Donna Borthwick, and we wish Kelso ladies the best of luck. Let's turn our attention, though, to the match which is happening today at Hawick at Mansfield Park. It's going to be a huge match as well. Alan Lorimer at Mansfield Park watching unbeaten Hawick trying to defend the Bill McLaren Shield against a very strong Mar team.
Hawick faced the first of 2 tough challenges on consecutive weekends when they face Mar at Mansfield Park today, and will want to lay down a marker before they travel to Maloney Park next Saturday to take on Curry Chieftains. The Greens sit 4th in what is a really tight situation at the top of the Tennent's Premiership, just 1 point below the joint leaders Curry, Edinburgh Accies and Glasgow Hawks, who are all on 21 points to Hawick's 20. Hawick go into this game as the only club in the Championship to be unbeaten over the first 5 rounds, but they know that they will have to be on top form to defeat a Mar side that caused ripples in the Premiership by defeating pace setters Curry in Troon last Saturday. Mar, sitting in 6th place on 15 points, are without several top performers this weekend, notably their talismanic centre Connor Bickerstaff, who is central to their attacking ploys. But returning to the Mar side is the mobile flanker Angus Johnston. Hawick will want to exploit the absence of Bickerstaff, but much will depend on the probing ability of the Greens' versatile Kirk Ford, who moves to inside centre after Grant Huggin failed a fitness test earlier in the week. If Ford can create space for Andrew Mitchell, then Hawick could gain results from their backline attacks. But the odds are that Hawick will seek to dominate through what is a powerful forward pack, casting minds perhaps back to those Hawick teams of old that did so well in the early days of national leagues. Missing from the Hawick squad are the Graham brothers, Ross and Stewart, but Rory McLeod returns to the bench to strengthen the replacements. Conditions at Mansfield are excellent for this Bill McLaren Shield contest, with sunshine and a dry surface making the pitch ideal for running rugby. It's a great match in prospect, and one that both sides must win to maintain pressure on the teams above them.
Thanks very much indeed to Alan Lorimer at Mansfield Park. Well, also in the Premiership, Jed Forest at home to Heriots Blues. Selkirk are at home to GHA. And in National 1, a top-of-the-table gala have made the tricky trek to Hartree Mill this afternoon to take on Biggar. Covering that one for us today is Sam Matthews.
Yes, that's right. I'm here to watch Biggar welcome top-of-the-table gala. Fittingly, the adjective of choice seems to be big as well as I look down the team sheets. Russell Kerr has a big hole to fill as young Harris Rutherford's impressive, dominant start to the season has earned him another call-up with the Southern Knights as he's on the bench for them today. Craig Dodds is looking to make a big impression as he comes back off the bench. 2 big forward packs are going to go at it all 80 minutes long. It's going to be a great contest. It's going to be a big chance for Gala to increase their lead at the top of the table today. And not only that, the home fans are going to want a big upset and watch their side come away with all the points. 5 changes to the Gala side, including many key changes. Tim McCavanagh does return to the side. Andrew Mitchell moves out to 13. Captain Liam Scott will not allow the standards to drop, though, that's one thing for certain. 2 changes for the home side as well. Andy Jardine, the captain, has also moved out 1 into the 13 role. All updates to come. Kick-off is at 3 p.m.
Well, also National 1, unbeaten Kelso host Highland at Poynter Park. Looking after this one this afternoon is Andrew Fleming.
Yes, welcome to Poynter Park, where second face 4th in Tennent's National 1 this afternoon as Kelso welcome Highland. The home side will be looking to keep up their perfect start to the season so far, with 4 wins from 4, leaving them just 1 point shy of Gala at the summit. Kelso head coaches Kevin Utterson and Bruce McNeil are able to name an unchanged starting 15 for the first time this season. The only changes from last week's matchday squad come on the bench, as 18-year-old Ashton Asante is in line to make his first team debut in the front row, while Mark Wilson returns from holiday to replace Aaron Jackson as backline cover. Following last week's 20-point victory over Biggar, Highland make one change in the back line, with Andrew Kellock replacing Craig Finlater on the right wing, while in the forward pack, Owen MacDonald and Rory Myton make up a new-look Boiler House, and Patrick Ratumasis comes into the front row. I was here for this fixture last season, which the hosts won comfortably by 43 points to 3. I'm expecting a much closer encounter this afternoon. It's Kelso versus Highland. Kick-off is at 3 p.m.
We're about 6 minutes away. Berwick against Peebles in National 2. Full, uninterrupted commentary on the game right here on Borders Rugby Radio. And Stuart McFarlane, Robin Purdie, your commentators this afternoon. Stuart, a quick look at the other games in the Premiership, which we haven't really mentioned yet. Glasgow Hawks against Hurry. That looks very, very tasty.
Yeah, Glasgow Hawks against Curry. The Glasgow Hawks third in the table, Curry top of the table, 21 points, both sides on 21 points, and at this stage in the season, after 5 rounds of matches, these become very, very important head-to-head contests when you're looking at winning the overall championship. It's a little bit of a marker, it's a little bit of bragging rights against one of your key rivals. It's only Edinburgh Accies that are in between these two sides, and on paper it's a very difficult one to call when both have won 4 matches, both have lost a game this season, and both are sitting on 21 points. You'd imagine that you'd only get a piece of paper between them.
Musselburgh against Edinburgh Accies. Again, local derby. Musselburgh got absolutely houked last week, to use a Dale Clancy phrase. Again, at home to... who was it, Robin? Last week it was Glasgow Hawks, wasn't it? Yeah. So they're not in a very good place. They are back at Stony Hill again, though, and of course when you have a derby like Musselburgh and Edinburgh Accies have, then things change a wee bit.
Yeah, Musselburgh have 5 games, still looking for the first win of the season, sitting second bottom on 3 points. But Edinburgh Accies will know that they've a very mean defence. They've only conceded 66 points in the 5 matches they've played so far. They're one of the top scoring sides as well, with 156 points scored across their 5 games. They'll see this as an opportunity to lay down a marker again with a convincing performance, but that has to come if all 15 players that start the game and those on the bench are reading from the same hymn sheet and are very focused on the job in hand. It's by no means a given, but you'd imagine that Aki's mindful of the sides either side of them in the table in first and third up against one another. This is an opportunity perhaps for them to sit top of the table tonight.
Let's have a look at National 1 then. We've obviously heard from Gala against Biggar, which is happening at Hartree Mill at Kelso. It's Kelso against Highland. Wouldn't it be great if we go into next week's big gala Kelso with both teams unbeaten, and the fact that Kelso haven't won at Netherdale since we think 2006-7 when Kevin Utterson slotted a last minute penalty to give them the 15-12 result, but that's something which we can maybe hope for at the end of the day. But let's talk about Aberdeen against Watsonians. Aberdeen having a dreadful start to their National 1 campaign after being relegated last year.
Yeah, bottom 2 sides. Last year's hangover has continued on into the first 4 matches they've played this season. 4 defeats. Again, they've conceded over 140 points in their opening 4 matches, and Watsonians as well, they're sitting just a point above them. I mean, the sides that are occupying places in the Super 6 competition, the likes of Watsonians and Boroughmuir and Heriots, when they've then had to field 15 sides in a rejigged domestic league. Now, this has been the case for a couple of seasons. It's taken them quite a while to adjust, and if anything, Melrose are one of the teams that seem to be on an upward trajectory, while at their Super 6 brother, their relative, however you would want to call it, their elder sibling in the form of the Southern Knights, are really, really struggling. So it's going to take the likes of Watsonians and Melrose and Heriots and Boroughmuir and teams like that still a bit of time to find their level.
And Melrose, of course, at Dundee today. Dundee beat Stirling at Stirling by a big margin, and of course Stirling beat Melrose at home. So on paper, again, it should be quite should be a Melrose win. But based on last week, that's going to be a bit closer possibly than we first thought.
Yeah, and again, a bit like this division, you've only got 2 sides, and you mentioned them already, Gala and Kelso, that are the 2 unbeaten sides in the league. And when that's the case after 4 matches, you know that you're in for a pretty competitive competition, and that's exactly exactly what you want. You don't want anybody cut adrift at the foot of the table. Aberdeen appear to be going in that direction unless they can reverse some early season misfortune and certainly tighten up defensively. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there today.
Okay, and the other two games in National Walden, Ayr against Stumel, GHK against Stirling County. Well, we'll be keeping you up to date with score flashes throughout the afternoon, but it's time to hand over the microphones to Robin Purdie and Stuart McFarlane for exclusive live commentary of Berwick against Peebles here at Borders Rugby Radio.
Yeah, well, Finlay Collins won the toss about half an hour or so ago and elected to play as we're watching from right to left in this first half. So Berwick are going to then have the kick-off. So the direction of play was given to the Peebles skipper, and the kick-off handed to Berwick. Berwick all in black, Peebles in the red and white neatly thinned hoop jerseys with the dark navy shorts and red and white hoop socks, and the kick-off just carries the 10 metre line as Berwick looking to protect this very impressive unbeaten home record stretching back 5 years. Early opportunity then for David Collins, Peebles scrum half, to get hands on the ball. That's played forward, two players back on the fringes of the Berwick 10 metre line. Rory Hindhaw full back then with a little kick downfield, kick and chase is garnered. Three players back inside the Peebles 22. One of them is Donald Anderson, and he makes no mistake there as he plays the ball into touch just down short of the 10 metre line across from our commentary position. And well, Robin, you mentioned already in the build-up the fact that this is it's a difficult one to call with Berwick's good home form.
Yeah, and both sides, I have to say, looked full of intent in their warm-ups, and yeah, I just can't call as I continue to say. One thing I have noticed is just the size of some of these Berwick backs, and I wonder if that can be a factor, particularly when Peebles made a late change at 13.
Aidan Rosie and Jack Webster in the backs as the half-backs, certainly for Berwick. Rosie's looking to get possession of the ball just now as the forwards just adjusting their position. The play on the Berwick left-hand side, just beyond that 10 metre line. Scurrying in there was Duncan Hardy, just back-pedalling as the Berwick forwards take play up closer towards the 22. Back they go once more though. It's played just at close quarters. Hardy's able to squat down. Now feed the ball in towards Mason Emery in the back row. Emery, James Grieve and Ali Grieve making up the back row for Berwick this afternoon. Running into Murdo Anderson, who's the outside centre. They were looking at various options, Peebles, in the warm-up to see who's going to be alongside Rob Harrison at 12. Well, it's Murdo Anderson wearing the 13 jersey. Ball carrier this time is Ryan Wilson, but he's caught short. It's been stripped once more by Hardy. He's found a little gap up into the 22. Now needs some support. Coming on at a rate of knots there was James Thompson, and Thompson galloping further into the 22 up to within 5-6 metres of that Peebles line. The momentum has dropped perhaps just ever so slightly as it's back now with Mason Emery. Emery does well just on the fringes of that 5 metre line. Berwick on the attack at the moment. No scoring in the early stages here at a sun-kissed Scremerston. Very picturesque as I made the journey back from Duns down to Berwick a little earlier on as we watch Peebles win turnover ball and clear beyond their own 22, near side this time, playing the ball downfield. But yeah, Robin, I mean, this is a picturesque part of the world when you think of the coastline a little bit further down. Lindisfarne, Holy Island, popular destination for a lot of tourists.
Yeah, and you're seldom down at Scremerston in weather like this, Stuart, I have to say, and it should help to contribute to what has been or what is potentially going to be a great game. It's been a good start thus far, particularly by Berwick.
Well executed line out back towards Hardy, taken on by Webster, bypasses the inside centre onto Thompson. Hardy goes in once more, looking now for Rory Hindhaw at fullback to make some ground and distance down that left hand side. They're beyond the 10 metre line as Hardy again goes in. Peebles trying to crash through and win a turnover opportunity again just on their own 10 metre line, but it's back with the dark Berwick jerseys as they look to regroup and reorganise it. Back across on that left hand side. Hardy there's going to play it back infield. It's taken on by Ryan Wilson, starting in the front row alongside Darren Goodfellow and Carl Gullen. Berwick from halfway. Again, good footwork there on towards Nicholson, the winger, receiving the pass from Aidan Rosie. Rosie cutting infield on towards Nicholson. Nicholson up towards the 22, and Jack Webster now is able to pick up round his man. He's not going to get underneath the posts, but he's able to finish off a very well constructed try for Berwick, coming in the early stages of this first half. And you have to say, initially, Robin, it was all about the pace and the ingenuity of the two wingers, Aidan Rosie and Ben Nicholson, but Jack Webster picked his time to get involved in the action.
Yeah, and if anybody thought, Berwick having come up from the division before, if Peebles were going to come down here and have a cakewalk, then that myth has been well and truly blown out the water, because this has been a fantastic start by Berwick, culminating in what was a very good try, as you say, for Webster, the beneficiary of the 1-2, if you like, between the wingers, Nicholson and Rosie. And yeah, it was Rosie with the initial break. I've been really impressed by him when I've seen him previously. He's a big lump of a boy, and he can run as well.
I should say a good afternoon to Jack's father, who I know is going to be listening in. We're following the action very closely during the course of the next 80 minutes or so. He'll be delighted that Jack has made such an important contribution in the early stages, and he was practising his goal kicking from the tee with the aid of a player just with an index finger resting on the ball. There is a bit of a breeze around Scremerston, so one of his teammates on the pitch just now, finger just on the edge of the ball, and his conversion attempt is straight and true, and that's a fine contribution from Jack Webster, the skipper of Berwick, as he makes his way purposefully back into his own half of the field, and Berwick leading by 7-0, courtesy of that early score. And Robin, another point we were discussing before the game, this is something of a family affair when you look at the number of brothers representing the two sides.
Yeah, 3 in the Berwick ranks, I think, and 4 rather in the Berwick ranks, and 3 in the Peebles ranks, different sets of brothers. I don't know if that'll be a first, 7 different sets of brothers in one game.
Certainly the importance of a families getting involved as it's played to Rory Hindhaw. He makes no mistake there from close to his own try line. It was just a simple case of getting into space and clearing it cross field into touch, but it's still in the fringes of that 22. Assistant across on the far side is now walking up closer towards the 10 metre line where the throw-in, so it's almost equidistant between the 10 and 22, this line out to restart the match. It will be a throw-in for Andy Muir of Peebles, and Peebles didn't know they were going to be in a game beforehand. They certainly do now.
Yeah, and they've barely had a touch of the ball. It's been all Berwick so far, and this is Peebles' first chance to build something meaningful, so let's see what they can do. Lose the line out. Deflected
off hands there because the jumper they were aiming for the captain, Finlay Collins, and Berwick have it through Hardy once more. Recycled ball, just running into trouble there, backpedaling is Finlay Collins, the Peebles skipper, just adjusting his defensive line. It's back to Webster. He launches one left-footed downfield, gathered by Donald Anderson. Got some green plane to run into, 4 players round about him. Peebles now trying to make their way up and just beyond halfway, which they do. Reinforcements coming in now, including Anderson at fullback, who picks up now and is able to find the bulky figure of Ewan Jackson in the back row. Jackson alongside his skipper Collins and also Finlay Sinclair. Little grubber kick through is gathered on the edge of the Berwick 22. A sclaffed effort. The referee had already whistled. The referee, incidentally, signalling an offside decision there, is Greg Cameron. I understand he's made the journey through from Kilmarnock, so that's a
it's a fair old track. But as I said before, he's seeing Scremerston at its absolute best today, so he's got that to be thankful for.
Yeah, the offside decision given against Berwick, and it's a chance now for the fly half Ian Chisholm to angle a kick down towards the edge of the 22 and inside the 22, and it'll be a throw in here. Of course, these sides we mentioned an emphatic win back in 2010, 84-0. They have met more recently in the Berwick Sevens in a pool stages back in 2018, with Peebles winning a tie quite narrowly over the 14 minutes. But at the moment it's concentration with Andy Muir. Long floated pass there, or throw in rather, to Ewan Jackson. Jackson now goes to deck, needing some reinforcements coming in. Collins, recycle ball, number 8 taking on Finlay Sinclair inside the 22. It's slow, steady forward momentum there from Peebles, but they've conceded a penalty and a little bit of back chat has frustrated the referee. His disapproval is clear as he matches Peebles back a further 10 metres, so play will resume between the 10 and the 22 with this Jack Webster kick.
Yeah, and that back chat won't please player coach Ian Chisholm one bit, unless of course it was him with the match. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. But yeah, Berwick in full control here on both sides of the ball. That was a great turnover by James Grieve.
Throw in for Berwick then. Ryan Wilson comes across opposite our commentary position. Wind beginning to pick up. He'll pick it up through the microphones. Referee Cameron just at the back of the line. So again, Ryan Wilson just takes his time, finds the jumper. That was the back row forward, Mason Emery, doing well to gather possession of the ball close towards the 10-metre line. Hardy's looking for a little bit of movement through the midfield. Webster is first to receive. It just bypasses Duncan Hardy once more. Adam Hardy at 9 with the ball at the moment. Duncan Hardy is the inside centre. 6 is Mason Emery, who takes the ball on just at the moment on the halfway line. Recycles. Determination shown by Ewan Thompson wearing the black scrum cap up towards the halfway line. A figure around Scremerston parts for a number of years now. Taken on by Ali Grieve. Berwick will be looking for the experience of Grieve to be an important factor during the course of this game and of the season, but Robin, they've knocked on in halfway. So here's a scrummage opportunity for Peebles, and this set play, particularly the scrum, is going to be interesting to see how both sides match up, because I think you in particular were impressed by the overall power and physique of the Berwick players.
Yeah, I have been. We were here last season and I can't recall them being, just as physical looking almost as they are today. And yeah, first scrum, let's see how this goes. The two front rows will begin to get stuck into each other, no doubt.
David Collins unable to feed the ball into this Peebles scrummage. Referee just intervening once more. We'll give you the full teams as soon as we can. If there's a significant break in play, we'll run you through the starting 15s for both sides. Mentioned quite a few of them so far in commentary, just in terms of their positions and the contributions they made so far. Waiting patiently to feed the ball in then is David Collins. Squats down, ball into the scrum. Finlay Sinclair at 8 for Peebles is able to pick up after digging those studs into the turf there. Across on the right hand side, looking to work it out towards Frey McVicker, and this is a fine run from Peebles down on the edge of the 22, running out of room as they were so close towards the touchline. Assistant across on the far side with the raised flag. Peebles looking to try and recycle ball though, as the referee is allowing play to continue. They recycle once more on Ewan Jackson up towards 5 metres from this Berwick line, looking to recycle once more. David Collins is in position, ready if required to use his scrum half skills. He wants to disappear in now, and he's eventually able to get the ball out towards his fly half, and that's a full spin turn there from Ian Chisholm, and the referee raises the arm, and again Chisholm's upper body strength was absolutely vital there as he was able to spin away from the initial challenge coming in from the Berwick players that were making their way down and across the next Jed Forest man. And Peebles, with their first real meaningful foray into Berwick 22 territory, have landed 5 points.
Yeah, they'll be pleased about that, Peebles, because they've barely been in the game so far. But as you say, their first meaningful possession, they've come up with 5 points to that man, Ian Chisholm, the player coach, and they'll look to him. I would have thought this afternoon it's going to be a good battle at the 10, across the 10 jerseys. Chisholm, of course, a very experienced campaigner, but nobody knows more blades of grass around this place than Jack Webster, the Berwick 10. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that develops, but that's certainly Chisholm on the score sheet.
Yeah, contrasting styles of play, as Peebles then have got back on the board with the try through their player coach Ian Chisholm. Freddie McIver then looking to line up this conversion attempt, almost plumb in front of the sticks. Oh, and he doesn't like that one, and no wonder it drifts wide of that left hand post. A rueful expression on his face as the gum shield goes back into the mouth, and it's 7 points to 5.
Yeah, he doesn't miss, unlike him, young McKeever, he doesn't miss many. 3 from 3 last week.
So McKeever's missed conversion attempt, and it's back to the halfway line in the restart. Plenty of height on that one, and is contested well. Peebles are able to win it just on the edge of their 22. Referee signalling a handling error. Berwick back in possession of the ball. Webster Once more on towards Duncan Hardy, the inside centre. He's flowed just on the edge of the 22. Short period of advantage after the knock on from Peebles' hands at the restart. So the referee will bring play back for a set play on the edge of the Peebles 22. 7 points to 5 then, the scoreline in the early stages of this contest. It remains a very sunny and crisp early autumn afternoon in this little section of Northumberland, this corner of Berwick. We talked about some of the clubs that of course Berwick are very proud of. The football club going back to 1881, the rowing club 1869, and a cycling club that involved the brothers Hector and Robert Thompson of Coldstream, Robert being an Olympic gold medalist back in 1912. Of course Speedway features prominently in Berwick's sporting calendar and has done since the late 1960s, but the rugby club have had certainly their moments, none more so than the success back in 2019 with that incredible win over Greenock Wanderers in the final of the Shield.
It'd be quite the bus journey home on that occasion to Berwick, I would have thought, Stuart.
Well, given the turnaround in fortunes, it was a comeback that may well have been even more dramatic than Scotland's at Twickenham some 8 or so weeks before that, as it's picked up at the base of the Berwick scrum, and Berwick again looking to drive forward. Duncan Hardy again going in, Adam Hardy on towards Jack Webster. Outside centre is James Thompson looking to pick his line. Hindhaw, the fullback, comes up in support. He's brought to deck just on the edge of that 22, scooping round to gather the ball was Mason Emery. The referee had already penalised Peebles though inside the 22. Stuart Cameron sitting just behind us will give us regular updates from around the grounds as scores are coming in from the early stages of these matches played around the country. Berwick in 8th in the table, having played 3 matches, 9 points on the board, and Peebles sitting in 4th place with 13 points.
Okay, a little injury at the break at the moment, so I'll quickly bring you up to date. Of course, in the Super 6 last night, Bulls 26, Wolves 0. It's ended at Megatland today. Boroughmuir's 10, Watsonians 27. In the Premiership so far, it's Selkirk, Jedforest 3, Heriots 0, the Finlay Scott penalty. Musselburgh 0, Enbrackies 5, Kerr Gosman getting a try there, and Selkirk 3, GHA 0, Aaron McComb penalty.
Throw in to Berwick, just down on our right hand side, and Ryan Wilson towards the middle portion of the line. Berwick looking to get a little bit of forward momentum, but their scrum half Adam Handy primed and ready. Hardy in position, but in possession of the ball it's Ryan Wilson trying to direct a clean run towards the line. The ball is dislodged, the penalty awarded once again to Peebles, and Robin Purdie watching on. This is a good little spell of pressure here from Berwick.
Yeah, Berwick are just winning all the contact at the moment. They're winning the physical battle, and they've went quickly here, Stuart.
Looking to recycle quickly and go once more. Again going in. Berwick players just around the players on the deck at the moment as it's a pick and go. A little snatch there from Ewan Thompson. Almost found a gap to work his way through the lock forward alongside Stuart Farnaby. And they're over for a try. They were closer than I suspected they would be there, and they're in for a score, and Berwick having worked very hard indeed to get that second try. And Ali Grieve, the number 8, was just in the right place at the right time to finish off that move. I thought that Ewan Thompson had still a little bit of work to do as he was making his way towards the line. Long telescopic arms reaching out. Grieve was the recipient then of that bit of fine work from his lock forward partner, and it's the number 8 that finishes things off.
Yeah, we thought for all the world they'd stick that penalty in the corner and drive a line out, but they surprised Peebles and they surprised us by going quickly, and yeah, a couple of phases later, as you say, the second rower, Thompson with the initial dart, if you like, if you can call it such a thing, towards the line, and then Ali Grieve, the beneficiary, he's extremely experienced, the ex-Melrose man, and yeah, real stalwart around these parts, and that's his name on the score sheet.
And Carol Gullen, the tight head prop, in the thick of it as well. He's a giant of a man as we watch him walk back and just beyond the 10 metre line into his own half, as Jack Webster now lines up this conversion attempt. Again, there's some assistance with a player on the turf with the index finger on the ball, and Webster's kick just swings wide of that right hand post, and you may well pick up a little gust of wind over our microphones there as Webster heads back into his own half there. So 2 tries and a conversion so far in the game for Berwick. 12 points to 5 then the scoreline, as play will once more get underway. Peebles with the restart. Some work for Ian Chisholm's men to do. Hindhawk is able to win the ball. It's back then towards Webster. Full back to fly half, and a clearance downfield will take play to that 10 metre line across on the far side, on the Peebles right, as they look to find a way to get themselves back into the contest, trailing by 2 tries to 1 and 12 points to 5.
Yeah, I think they can take heart for, they've not been in the game that much, but they'll take heart from the fact that when they did have the ball, the one and only time they had the ball, they scored, and they've got a reasonable platform here just on the Berwick 10.
Reaching up, and just on the angle was Ewan Jackson. He was able to win the ball with 2 hands there from the throw in from Andy Muir. Peebles now are again working the way forward somewhat purposefully up towards the edge of that 22 now. They've had 140 into the Berwick 22, and they've come away with a try courtesy of the man in the ball at the moment, Ian Chisholm. He's able to find his number 8 there, Finlay Sinclair. Sinclair is stopped on the edge of the 22. It's a little change in direction from David Collins as he tries to round the corner, still on the edge of the 22. Peebles in their red and white hoop jerseys playing from right to left in this first half, across on that right hand side. McKeever takes the ball on there up towards and just inside the 22 before he goes to deck. It's quickly recycled again, the backs coming into play, one of them clattering off Carol Gullen, the tight head prop we were talking about a little bit earlier on. Now some space for Peebles to work it towards their number 8, but the referee is bringing play back for a forward pass there. Rob Harrison was scampering somewhat laterally there, looking at the options towards that left hand side. Finlay Sinclair had made himself available, but the direction of pass just a little bit too squint far forward as the referee is signalling the handling error or the passing error, and that move breaks down from a Peebles point of view, and another scrummage just outside the Berwick 22.
Yeah, we've not had too many scrums so far in this game, and I'd probably say that Peebles have just had the edge in the in what we have had. You mentioned the size of the Berwick prop there. There's a couple of big old rigs in that Peebles front row as well, and they'll be in their element about to pack down against each other in these conditions.
Adam Hardy readies himself to feed the ball into the scrum. Alongside him is David Collins. Hardy then scoops down. Peebles immediately applying some pressure. It's picked up by the number 8 there, Ali Grieve. The penalty already awarded to Peebles, and they're looking to respond quickly after conceding that second try. 12-5 the scoreline. Bright sunshine and blue sky. There's some wispy cotton wool clouds in the sky just at the kick-off time, but it's what little cloud we've had is cleared away, made its way down the coastline, and it's a very, very pleasant afternoon. Quite a number of spectators watching on in the main stand. Craning our necks now to the left hand side as Andy Muir looks to throw the ball into this Peebles line out. Muir then is able to almost find hands there, deflected and picked up by Webster, who was very alert at the back of that scrum, and that's a line out rather, and that's a fine kick downfield from Webster. What an absolute beauty, because that takes play from his own 22 down to the 10 metre line across on that far side and beyond, and Webster had time to just pick his spot there, but he's got a mighty boot on him as Jack Webster, and that was perfectly illustrated by that exit from his 22.
There was a great show of local knowledge from Jack Webster there. As you correctly allude to, he's got a big left boot, and he knows the wind, he knows the conditions down here, and great kick.
Ball goes loose and is picked up there by Ian Chisholm, but the referee had once again identified a handling error, so it's going to be another scrummage and set play inside Peebles territory. 12 points to 5 the scoreline, and these sides having played each other the last time in a full 15s match back in April 2010, Peebles 84, Berwick 0 in the Border League. We mentioned that match in the 2018 Berwick Sevens one of the pool fixtures when the sides met. They've also had I think a 60-minute pre-season friendly a couple of years ago, so there's been the odd occasion where their paths have crossed, but back in the same division after some years apart. And again, they've worked it very well from the scrum. Hindhawk is able to gather on that 10-metre line up towards the edge of the 22. Berwick working it from left to right very quickly, and once more Adam Hardy scoops down, back row forward, takes it on is James Grieve, open side flanker. Adam Hardy in once again. That just bypasses through the hands of Goodfellow on towards Duncan Hardy. Again, they're just on the fringes of the 22, and Peebles requiring all their guile just to tackle every Berwick player in their sights at the moment, as Webster tried a cheeky little left-footed grubber kick, and that was immediately cleared from the edge of the 22. There was an advantage being played by the referee as Peebles were penalised for not rolling away, so play will resume on the edge of the Peebles 22. Berwick again looking to apply the pressure, and I suppose, Robin, when a side like Berwick are on top against a side above them in the table, they've got to take their chances, because the game could easily, the pendulum could easily swing in Peebles' favour at some stage.
Yeah, well, Peebles have already shown one bit of meaningful possession, one try, so yeah, Berwick won't be thinking the points are in the bag. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought, but another great attacking platform here with a line out 5 metres or so from the Peebles line. Ryan Wilson then just waiting patiently to throw the ball in towards the line. Tulloch forward, sitting just at the back of the line, but it's a stab throw in towards Grieve at the front, and again very deliberately looking to get the drive on there with Wilson. Now remember, the last time they were in this situation, they were able to come good with a score. Again, it's spread this time through the midfield, as they've done so in the past, in a first half now 23 minutes old. Picked up by the second row forward there, Ewan Thompson. Thompson angling his way towards that right hand corner, and Thompson, we've seen him on 2 or 3 occasions in open play cause real problems for the Peebles defence when he's able to get up any head of steam there. 12-5 remains the scoreline, but Peebles are walking a bit of a tightrope just at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, they are, and you mentioned that man Thompson. He puts himself about, doesn't he? Been very impressed by him, and Rosie have been the pick of the bunch for me so far. I think Thompson as well, when we were here last season in the big clash against Lass Wade, was particularly impressive that day as well. He's a good player.
Very effective at this level, and again he's a well recognised figure around the Scremerston parts, as Peebles now trying to work it with the ball carriers. Cameron Pye was the latest player to have a carry on the edge of the 22, and then it was cleared downfield, and the ball goes into touch close towards halfway. Time we headed back to Stuart for further updates from around the grounds.
Yes, I think we can go to Hartry Mill. Sam Matthews waiting for us. Biggar against Gala.
20 minutes gone here at Biggar. Gala are currently leading 10-0. A try from Angus Dunn after dominant line-out play, and Tim McAvna sent him clean through under the posts. Russell Kerr has also added a penalty. As I said, 20 minutes gone. Biggar 0, Gala 10.
Line out gathered by Berwick's number 6 there, Mason Emery. Thanks very much to Sam. We'll hear more from Sam and our reporters from around the ground. Alan Lorimer watching Hoyt this afternoon as we are watching the referee signalling a knock on, and it will be put into Peebles in the scrummage, again directly opposite our commentary position. And I suppose one downside about coming down to Scremerston, Robin, is, and you'll have experienced this yourself in the past, is when it's so sunny out in the pitch, although there's a little bit of breeze, that's where you would ideally position yourself. But we're sitting in a sort of elevated commentary position, requiring maybe a few more layers than some of the spectators.
I think so, yeah. And the wind, what wind there is here, there's a wee bit of a breeze. It seems to be blowing right across the pitch, which is sending the kicks from both teams over to that far touchline. And that was speaking of kicks, it was a great exit there from Peebles, a particularly impressive touch finder from Ian Chisholm.
Into the scrum then, the ball from David Collins. Collins works his way back, he's just behind Finlay Sinclair, Peebles number 8. Collins is able then to bring Harrison, the inside centre, into play. Through the hands then of Anderson out towards the left hand side. Slipping there at the vital moment was James Doe on on the edge of halfway. Reinforcements coming in courtesy of Collins. Played just in front of us at the moment as Peebles looking to recycle. Collins picks up once more on towards Chisholm, the player coach. Chisholm's offload towards Dow. And this time Peebles are back in Berwick territory, trailing by 12 points to 5. The number 8 carries Finlay Sinclair just a couple of metres there. Collins in behind him. It's now with Donald Anderson, the fullback, out towards Willie Aitken, and Aitken just appearing and galloping some 10-12 metres there before offloading. It's taken on there by the scrum half. Collins again trying to find a little gap and work his way around the corner up towards the edge of the 22, taken on by Ross Brown. Brown goes to deck, it's recycled. Chisholm has it once again. He's able just to pass it infield towards that right hand side and keep it central. Back row forward, Finlay Collins, the skipper of the side, is thwarted just on the edge of that 22. Collins, the scrum half this time. Little touch there from Ross Brown, who's playing in the second row alongside Cameron Pye. Ball still on that Peebles right hand side. They're inside the Berwick 22 now, looking to recycle ball through the scrum half. Collins once more. Ball goes a little loose, a little bit untidy from Peebles, so much so that they've knocked the ball on, as signalled by our referee Greg Cameron. And another phase of play, another attacking opportunity there for Peebles, but better from their point of view, because they had several phases where they elected to play the ball through the hands rather than to kick, and they went from one 22 to the other.
Yeah, I was just going to mention the number of phases they put together, forwards and backs in perfect unison, and front row forwards at that. I think for Peebles, Chisholm's definitely starting to come more and more into this game, and that can only be a good thing for them. He's played with the greatest of respect to this level. He's played rugby at a higher level, and the more touches he can get in this game, the better it will be for Peebles.
Okay, I can go, I think, now to Poynter Park and join Andrew Fleming. It's Kelso against Highland.
20 minutes going at Poynter Park, and it's a 1 point game. Scott Fraser opened the scoring with a penalty for the visitors before Keith Melbourne responded with a try, converted by Dwayne Patterson. Scott Fraser has just landed a second penalty, went to score Kelso 7, Highland 6.
And latest in the Premiership is Glasgow Hawks 0, Curry 7, Jed Forest 6, Heriots 3, Musselburgh 3, Inverrackies 10, and Selkirk 3, GHA 0.
Close scores then in the matches around the country involving border clubs. Stuart will bring us regular updates during the course of the afternoon, heading up towards the half-hour mark here at Scremerston with the scoreline: Berwick 12, Peebles 5. The Peebles try scored by Ian Chisholm. 2 tries though for Berwick. The initial one scored unconverted by Jack Webster, with Ali Grieve landing a second from close range after particularly good work from the lock forward Ewan Thompson. Scrummage inside that Berwick 22, they splinter away, and suddenly Peebles are on the attack at the moment. Collins on towards again the second row forward, and it's Ross Brown that carries with purpose. Collins, the scrum half, out towards the right hand side, again occupying some space. A clutch of Peebles players ready and willing. Chisholm has it once more, receiving it from the scrum half. A loop pass on towards the outside centre there. Murdo Anderson tries to work his way back infield. They're still inside the 22, but a little short of that 5 metre line now, as again they spread the ball from a standing start. It's with McKeever once more, and from McKeever up towards the edge of the 22. Ball again appears on that right hand side, and there's no room on the right, so they have to work it back infield, bring forwards into play. Collins tries to be the architect here, as once more it's taken on by Ross Brown, using his considerable bulk to get up towards that try line. And the loose head prop coming onto the pass from David Collins. Willie Aitken there, the hugely experienced Aitken, couldn't take the ball just around right shoulder height. But the referee was playing a period of advantage close towards that Berwick line, 5 metres or so short of the line. People signalling they're going to go for another scrummage here as they try and find a way across that Berwick whitewash to bring themselves back, possibly in level terms if they can get a conversion. 7 point game at the moment, Robin.
Yeah, smart play by Peebles here to take the scrum. They absolutely have scrum ascendancy. They very much shoved Berwick off that previous ball, which led to the penalty. So yeah, they'll be definitely be looking to leave here with points in one capacity or another.
Collins waits patiently. Berwick, as we mentioned, a club that formed in 1968, but originally formed back in 1926 and disbanded just at the start of the Second World War. So fairly lengthy history, if somewhat broken up. as it's picked up by the Peebles number 8 just at the back of the scrum. Finlay Sinclair, but the door very much closed on him as he was looking to work his way round the corner. Regrouped and restacked, and on they go once again as Ewan Jackson inside those final 5 metres. Again, you can see Duncan Hardy and Adam Hardy appealing there as Peebles go once more. This time Finlay Collins, the skipper, was trying to play some crash ball through, but the Berwick defence is holding up well under some real pressure from these powerful Peebles forwards as they're looking to find a way back into the game. And it was a game that we felt it was going to be difficult to call the outcome of this one, and it's certainly not disappointing.
No, it's right in the balance. Peebles have come back into it. Berwick certainly started the stronger, but Peebles have definitely got ascendancy at the scrum, so that's going to be to their advantage as the game wears on for sure. But yeah, as I said before, they would be hoping to leave that situation with points, which they've not done. A little bit of crawling along the ground from the captain Finlay Collins, who's otherwise had an impressive first half hour.
OK, I think we can go to Mansfield Park now. The latest from Alan Lorimer.
And still no score from Mansfield Park, where Hawick are operating without their playmaker Kirk Ford, who was a late call-off just before the game, and that has certainly hampered their efforts in attack.
Disappointing news coming through there from a Hawick point of view. Kirk Ford is not involved in the action this afternoon, as that's an important home match for Hawick even at this early stage in the season. Here Berwick protecting this hugely impressive unbeaten home record going back to 2017. Line out infringement. Peebles penalised, and they're then backpedaling into their own half as one of the Berwick players is down on the turf. He's going to receive just a little bit of treatment here. But
I'll come in then in that case and give you some more updates, because in the Premiership it's Hawks 0, Curry 7, it's Jed Forest 6, Herriot's 8 now. Herriot's taking the lead there, still 0-0 between Hawick and Mar. Musselburgh 3, Embrackis have scored another try, 15 now, and Selkirk 3, GHA taking the lead with 7. And just briefly into National 1, Aberdeen 5, Watsonians 3, Ayr 19, Stewmel 0, Biggar 0, Gala 10 as we've heard, Dundee 10, Melrose 14, GHK 10, Stirling County 13, and Kelso 7, Highland 6.
And of course Edinburghs will have eyes on the top of the table if they can inflict an emphatic win over Musselburgh. And we mentioned Musselburgh conceded over 228 points, I think more than any side has in the sort of top 3 divisions of the country. Berwick with the throw in. Berwick line out just on the inside of the Peebles 22, and across goes the scrum half there, scampering after that one. Adam Hardy, ball was a little loose, it was somewhat untidy from the line out there. Berwick this time conceding the penalty, having knocked on, so the game hasn't been quite as free-flowing in the last couple of minutes. That said, Peebles did have a fine move that worked them from 122 to the other, but since then it's been a little bit stop-start, as the sides will be aware we're approaching half-time. It's coming imminently, and these sides separated by 7 points at the moment. 3 tries, 2 for Berwick, 1 for Peebles. Converted Berwick try really making the difference in the game so far. 12 points to 5 they lead. Watching on as David Collins then looks to feed the ball into the scrum. Again he works his way around with Finlay Sinclair, number 8, making the ball available to the scrum half. Now it's on towards Chisholm, again involving the midfield. Out towards the fullback Anderson. Very deliberately plays one downfield and is gathered well by Rory Hindhoy, his opposite number. The Berwick fullback then is surrounded by 3 Peebles jerseys now. Mainly tackled by Donald Anderson, his opposite number, who followed that kick downfield. Berwick again looking to regather possession of the ball. Mason Emery up towards the 10 metre line, stolen by Peebles, and back they come, but the referee took just a second or two to whistle, signal the infringement. Another knock on. Disappointing, Robin, that the number of handling errors there have been this afternoon, because it is a relatively calm afternoon and I think fairly dry out there on the park, but I think perhaps more so an illustration of the pressure that the opposition are putting on the side with possession of the ball.
Yeah, certainly since maybe minute 15 or so it's just gone a bit that way, and there's actually a really good turnover in there by Peebles, and then it was fumbled after they'd done the good work, and the referee quite right on that occasion to signal that was a knock on. And yeah, the stings just kind of went out of the game a wee bit after a promising start.
Of course, both these sides know that if they want to continue onwards and upwards in the division. These closely fought contests, when they're perhaps not quite on song, if they can still engineer a victory, points are just as important as in a more emphatic win. Just watching on as Peebles then reorganise in that front row for this latest scrummage. Ian Chisholm using the break just to take a quick drink of water, the Peebles fly half and player coach. Berwick will have the put in here. Again, waiting patiently is Adam Hardy. Roddy Hindhawk at 15, Ben Nicholson 14, Adam Rosie is number 11 on that left wing, James Thompson, Duncan Hardy the centres, Jack Webster and Adam Hardy the half-back partnership, Dan Goodfellow, Ryan Wilson and Carol Gullen in the front row for Berwick, Ewan Thompson and Stuart Farnaby in the second row, Mason Emery, James Grieve and Ali Grieve in the back row as Berwick run out of room on that right hand side from the scrum. They were looking for an exit down on the right, again no surprise, just in the thick of the action was Ewan Thompson. The flag is raised just down on the left hand side and it will be a throw into Peebles.
Yeah, Berwick are going to have to sort this scrum situation out because again they were almost driven off the ball there by Peebles and the lineout's a bit scrappy, Stuart.
Are able to pick up, that was good work there from Ewan Jackson because it was a scrappy line out, but the blindside flanker, back row forward, did very well indeed to secure hands on the ball. Ian Chisholm with an outrageous pass there. It certainly launched it about 20 yards backwards and had Donald Anderson scurrying back. His heart rate would have increased quite significantly there, but no damage done to Peebles. Cameron Pye is able to work it back up towards that 10 metre line, but still some way short through the hands of Andy Muir, the hooker. Up towards the edge of the 10, still they go it. So it was a rather unconventional pass there by Chisholm. I think he just put a little bit too much on it, tried to bypass a number of players. Delays the pass this time and it was very direct towards Murdo Anderson, and Anderson was just able to gather possession of the ball. Cutting in field now, James Dow doing very well up and over halfway over the 10 metre line. Excellent tackle there from Roddy Hindhaw, the Berwick fullback. Peebles look to pick and go once more on the fringes of the 22. Reinforcements coming in. It's Willie Aitken looking to recycle the ball. Finlay Collins, the skipper, has it across on the far side now is Donald Anderson. Anderson with the pass. Two players across on that right hand side were calling for the ball there. They slammed the turf in frustration as that move breaks down with another knock on. But Peebles again trying to just accelerate onto the passes, bring a little bit more urgency into their go forward play. And once again a handling error denies them as they were about to encroach in that Berwick 22. Remains 12-5 to the home side.
Well, just before we go back into the action, let's give you an update again from Premiership. Glasgow Hawks 12, Curry 7. It's Hawick 0, Mar 3. Jed Forest have gone behind now 6, Heriots 15. Tries from Noah Henry and Sean Johnston. Musselburgh 3, Emiraki's extending the lead to 20 now, and Selkirk 3, GHA 7, and Selkirk down to 14 men. Bruce Riddle has gone to the bin for 10 minutes.
One or two matches beginning to favour one side over the other, as we're expecting a few emphatic scorelines this afternoon, but a few close run things as well, none more so than the fixture we're watching here this afternoon. Play resumes with a scrummage, and it's a storybook unfolding in fascinating style as Adam Hardy feeds the ball then into the Peebles scrum, picked up by one of the try scorers, Grieve, on towards Duncan Hardy inside centre, carries beyond the 22, picked up by his brother Adam Hardy, again tries to work his way back into the body of the Kirk and just trample over the Peebles cover defence there. The play is between the 10 and the 22 inside Berwick territory. Berwick leading by 12 points to 5. Jack Webster, their captain and opening try scorer, launches one downfield. Two players back for Peebles. One of them is Donald Anderson. Again looking to measure the pass out towards Chisholm. Chisholm is able to take the ball up towards the edge of halfway. Recycled, and again it's the outstretched arms there of the left winger James Dow, who's trying to read the pass there. Couldn't take the ball in cleanly, and as a result have another knock on. But yeah, I think you mentioned the experience of Ian Chisholm playing at that higher level. You can see the fact he played at a good level with Jed. He had a spell at Heriots. That's perhaps just making the difference on a few occasions. That said, what did you make of that long pass?
just
backwards.
stuck. I think it just gripped the palms just that half a second too long. And he cost his team about 30 metres on that occasion, but they've managed to weather that particular storm, and you can start to see now the way that Peebles are starting to play. They seldom put boot to ball in this game, and they're giving the thing a bit of air, and that is kind of the hallmark of Chisholm, and he's spoken before about trying to change the way Peebles play, and I think we're starting to see that today.
Yeah, an outrageous moment like that I think is pretty much in every player. As Adam Hardy feeds the ball in, Peebles have got a real piece of power on that scrummage. They are forcing Berwick back, and that a perfect illustration of just how good they are as a scrummaging unit.
Yeah, it's every scrum now. Stuart and Berwick are going to have to find a way to put the brakes on that, because it could be a long remainder of this half and second half if they can't find a way to fathom that, find a way to fathom a solution for that one.
Chisholm then kicking down towards
good kick as well.
The corner. It was both in distance and angle there, so no mistake this time. Was indeed a very good kick, delivered well. So deep inside the Berwick 22, the shadows of the trees that occupy space just around part of Scremerston, covering sections of the pitch. As we're watching on now, Andy Muir, ball above head height, looking to feed the ball into this latest line out here. Muir with a throw in, taken cleanly by Peebles just in the middle of the line. They'll want to bring it back to Muir, as again he's in the heart of this driving maul, trying to work their way closer towards that 5 metre line inside the Berwick 22. David Collins makes himself available, squats down, and is now going to bring the back line into play. Number 8 is Finlay Sinclair. Collins in behind once more, on towards inside centre. Rob Harrison again, he's forced sideways. Peebles will need to recycle once more. Collins is in position, on towards Chisholm. Chisholm again, pass that bypasses 2-3 players, finds Poe on this left hand side. He tries to work his way up the 5 channel, close towards the 5 metre line. Once more it's Collins, on this time to the second row forward, Ross Brown. Brown goes to deck, Collins in behind him. Chisholm again, a loop pass. He's not shy in missing out 2 or 3 players just to try and bring some width into the game. High challenge coming in there. The referee may well have a look at that. He does. He signalled the high challenge, penalising Berwick. The play will come back for the high collision there inside the Berwick 22. They had the reaction of 1 or 2 in the crowd to that high call. So no great surprise that Berwick have been penalised, and Peebles are certainly ending the half the stronger of the two.
Yeah, they've picked up the tempo, Peebles, the last 10-15 minutes, and it's going to be interesting to see if what Berwick, or this is going to be a real test of Berwick's fitness levels as half time approaches. If Peebles continue this into the second half, and again, rather than stick it in the corner, they've opted for the scrum from the penalty, and why not with the way things have gone so far.
Yeah, closing stages of the first half, and as Robin was saying there, no surprise that it is a scrum penalty here for Peebles. And again, David Collins will ready himself to feed the ball into the scrum. The last drive from a Peebles point of view was very impressive. They're still looking for a score to try and bring them back on level terms. Greg Cameron, the match referee, not satisfied with the original scrummage, so players will adjust once more. I can see that Peebles have made a change. I think they made it just a short time ago, in fact, because I can see John Napier is on wearing 16 for Peebles in that front row. So that's a change I think was made 5 or so minutes ago. There's confirmation of that early change then for Peebles before the interval. 12 points to 5 to Berwick. Peebles with this attacking scrum inside the Berwick 22. And it is once again David Collins looking to feed the ball in. Adam Hardy just alongside him. David Collins, of course, scored last weekend against Newton Stewart, brother of Finlay. And David Collins now is able to pick up. Brings Chisholm into play once more. A fine piece of running here from McKeever up to within those final 5 metres, and he was clawed to the ground there. Collins, the scrum half, comes over. Again, the momentum has dropped as it's taken Peebles a little bit of time to rip that ball out. Another penalty awarded to Peebles inside the Berwick 22. We talked about Peebles walking a bit of a tightrope earlier in the half when Berwick were turning the screw. It's Peebles' opportunity to do the same this time. the referee having a word with one or two players. These penalties against Berwick are coming at increasingly regular intervals now.
Yeah, and that one in there looked just a semi-professional, you might want to call it, and the referee might have thought about tickling the pocket, but it doesn't look like he's going to, I think. But yeah, Peebles again great distribution in that phase of play from Chisholm, and I've been really impressed by young Free McKeever. His willingness for work coming in, that's 2 or 3 times now he's come right across the park off his wing looking for graft, and yeah, it's a great trait in a young player.
McKeever on that right hand side, Donald Anderson in at full back, Murdo Anderson, Rob Harrison and James Doe in that midfield alongside Ian Chisholm and David Collins in the backs for Peebles. Will Aitken, Andy Muir, John Gray, Cameron Pye, Ross Brown, Ewan Jackson, Finlay Collins and Finlay Sinclair making up the forwards for Peebles this afternoon. We mentioned that John Napier has since come on the field of play in the front row for the visiting side, who's still knocking on the door, so to speak, as Berwick leading by 12 points to 5, but almost like a cat with 9 lives. They're living dangerously at the moment. Peebles will sense another opportunity here at this scrum. They will have the put in close towards that 5 metre line again on the Peebles left, 15 or so metres in from touch on that 15 channel. David Collins then, as we mentioned, a scorer in the match against Newton Stewart last weekend, feeds the ball into the scrum, watches on as a little bit of movement in front of him involving Finlay Sinclair. It's picked up then by Sinclair. They reverse it back through Harrison on towards Chisholm. Chisholm's got so much traffic in front of him there, and Berwick have done very well defensively, because there was a lot of questions being asked of the home side as the referee puts whistle to mouth and blows for half time. 12 points to 5. It's a game that's offered plenty. Berwick, of course, protecting this long unbeaten record against a side in Peebles coming in sitting 4th place in the table, fancying their chances of ending that long unbeaten run. Well, they're going to have to do so in the second half after coming from behind, because the scoreline is 12-5 at half time. Jack Webster and Berwick got off to a flying start. Webster with a try converted in the early stages. Ali Grieve scoring a second try for Berwick in the first 40 minutes. Ian Chisholm also on the score sheet for Peebles, and it sets us up very nicely for the second 40.
Okay, thank you very much indeed to Robin Purdie and to Stuart McFarlane, our commentators here at Scremiston, and it's really on a knife edge, and incredibly they kicked off a minute and a half early, and they've actually played over 51 minutes in that first half, so I don't know where he got 10 minutes of injury time from, because there weren't many injuries. Anyway, let's go all the way to Pointer Park now. Andrew Fleming waiting for us there. Kelso against Highland, it's half time.
Half time at Pointer Park, and Kelso lead Highland by 14 points to 6. A Scott Fraser penalty had the visitors ahead before a converted try from Keith Melbourne turned the game. Fraser responded with a second penalty before number 8 Bruce McNeil emerged from a pile of bodies to score Kelso's second try in the half-hour mark, again converted by Dwayne Patterson. A big second 40 to come, but at the break it's Kelso 14, Highland 6.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Hello, this is George Ingalls here, and I'm thrilled that my songs are now available on 2 albums, Anthology and Lockdown Blues.
Late in the evening, she's wondering what clothes to wear.
Both available on iTunes to download and stream.
I am the train, been gone since 69.
George Ingalls Anthology and Lockdown Blues. Check them out now on iTunes and other digital sites.
Hi, Nicky Walker here, Curriculum Learning Manager for Sports and Outdoor Activities at Borders College. Have you ever considered turning your passion for sport into a rewarding career? If so, then why not get in touch at borderscollege.ac.uk/sport.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 Years On, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, the complete Borders Railway, is available now.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio with Stuart Cameron.
Yes, we're live from Scremiston where the half-time score is 12-5 to Berwick, trying to protect that long record that goes back to 2017, the home record. Some half-times for you. First of all, in the Super 6, the match which was played earlier today, Boroughmuir Bears 10, Watsonians 27. It's a final score. Half-time at the match between Glasgow Hawks and Curry, a real top-of-the-table clash there. 12-10 at the moment to Glasgow Hawks. Hoyk 12, Mar 3. A couple of tries from Hoyk put them in the driving seat for the second half. Jed Forest have got a try back from Jai McGough. It's now Jed Forest 13, Heriots 15. Musselburgh 3, Edinburgh Accies 20 is a later score, and half-time at Philip Hawke, Selkirk 6, GHA 7. That is a tight one there. International 1, Aberdeen, who haven't won this season, 12, Watsonians 3 at the break. Ayr 19, Stuart's Melville 0. It's Bigger 10, Gala 17. Craig Borthwick scoring a try. Liam Scott and Angus Dunn going over for 5 points each earlier in the game, but Gala with their noses in front there. It's Dundee 22, Melrose 14. Bit of a surprise, so plenty of things happening down there at Mayfield. National 1, GHK 10, Stirling County 20, and Kelso 14, Highland 6 at the break. Into National 2, as we've said here, it's 12-5 to Berwick. Another interesting result, or half-time score, Preston Lodge 7, Kirkcaldy 26. Kirkcaldy, of course, unbeaten. A bit of a surprise there. So that's the latest. It's now the second half.
Yeah, thanks very much, Stuart. Jack Webster then gets the second half underway. Mighty kick as well. Did that look?
Yeah, I think they've restarted the match there with a penalty, Stuart.
Yeah.
I did see Ian
Because
Chisholm
it wasn't a drop kick.
No, it was a kick to touch. There was a long tete-a-tete between Ian Chisholm and the referee post whistle. So I don't know if that's resulted in it must have resulted in a penalty to Berwick.
Yeah, because there was no drop kick and the ball straight into touch as well. So rather than coming back for a scrum on halfway, it has been a penalty. So that's a very curious way to start the second period. Berwick then have lost possession though. It's been won over by Peebles. Chisholm again, a delicate chip kick into that 22, scampering after it is Hindhawk, does very well under the pressure of McKeever. Hindhawk almost loses his jersey, goes to the deck, was unable to offload possession of the ball there, but Berwick still have possession now as Hindhawk was able to find the back row forward, James Grieve goes to deck on the left hand side inside that Berwick 22. So a penalty, it seems, to start the second half. We'll try and get to the bottom of that decision there. That's a curious way to begin, but Berwick back inside their own 22. Adam Hardy then feeds the ball back. A rather slip there as the clearance downfield goes almost under the legs there of James Doe, the Peebles left winger. He's back inside his own half of the field, but he's got some green plane to run into up and over that 10 metre line. Solid challenge from Duncan Hardy to slow up the Peebles left winger. Peebles looking to recycle possession of the ball now, which they do. And back row forward, Finlay Collins and Skipper takes the ball into the contact situation. Back it comes through the hands of Chisholm, receiving the ball from his scrum half out towards Finlay Sinclair on that left hand side. The Peebles number 8 putting himself about at the moment. Remember, 12 points to 5 is the scoreline at the start of this second half, as it's back now with Peebles, who made a couple of changes, it would seem, in this second period. It looks like Robin McKeever is on. So another one of the brothers linking up there with Free across on the wing, who's now nearest to us, having played across on the far side in that first half. Back it comes again to Donald Anderson, the fullback, running into the dark jerseyed Berwick players. So plenty of opportunity for Peebles players to get hands on the ball at the start of this second period. 12 points to 5, they trail. 2 tries to 1. 2 tries scored in that first half by Berwick. One very, very early on by their skipper Jack Webster, who landed the conversion. Chisholm with the pass in towards John Napier, one of the first Peebles replacements. It's now with the aforementioned free McKeever, caught just on the edge of the 22, recycled by Chisholm, again bypasses a couple of players, evades Ross Brown. Berwick are able to then scamper the defence forward and just go beyond that 10 metre line and win the penalty. And it's been a lively start to the second period as Adam Hardy was taking a quick tap there and trying to scamper beyond the halfway line, much to the dissatisfaction of Greg Cameron. And high time at the start of this second half. We heard once again from Robin Purdie.
Yeah, I'm going to go back 2 or 3 minutes, Stuart. A great piece of play by the Berwick fullback Rory Hindhaugh. Two years ago, you would have let that run into the corner there, but that would have resulted nowadays in a 50-22. He had to take that deep towards the corner flag, and he brought it back in field. 2 or 3 phases they were able to exit Berwick, and now they find themselves 50-60 metres up the park with what could be classed as an attacking line out. Great play by the fullback.
Yeah, no, very much worth pointing out as Berwick are now between that 10 and 22. It's about game management as much about fitness. These close run things when they're at this higher level, protecting the lead. But another knock on, this time a Berwick knock on from that line out. Some pressure being applied there by Berwick second row forward Ross Brown, or rather Peebles second row forward Ross Brown on the Berwick players. So the Peebles lock forward involved in the incident that's led to the knock on, and Peebles will be able to clear from their left hand side. They'll look for a solid scrummage first of all as the platform to work the ball downfield. Remains a perfectly picturesque afternoon. I know many listeners are tuning in from far and wide. I think we've 1 or 2 from Ontario and Canada. Should wish you a happy Thanksgiving weekend. There'll be many Canadian families across the country enjoying a Thanksgiving meal over the course of the next couple of days. And it's always great to have your company wherever you happen to be, if you're at home or on the move, as we're watching Peebles on the move at the moment, controlling that scrummage, and that is an aspect of play, Robin, that is very much favouring the visitors at the moment.
Yeah, could that be the facet of the game that could lead to Scremerston falling for the first time in 5 or so years? Absolute scrum dominance from Peebles. They've picked up the second half where they were, or where they left off in the first half, and yeah, it could be a long, albeit they're Berwick are still ahead on the scoreboard. Let's not forget that. But I just start to feel that Peebles, if they get the next score, they're going to be in the ascendancy.
If Berwick can engineer a way to win this game, it's going to help them cement their place at this level, because they've made the progression up a division, and it's a test like this at home that if you can come through, you're going to build confidence, and it's, I suppose, as much physical as it is mental, this challenge that they face, and they don't want this long unbeaten run at home to become a noose or a weight around their neck. But it's a simple fact that it's been such a long time, and it's worth talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and all credit to them. Even at the lower divisions, to not lose a game 5 years, albeit take a year and a half out for COVID or whatever, that's still 3.5 years. It's frankly a remarkable achievement. And is that still going to be the case come 5 o'clock this afternoon?
Bit of a breeze picked up there as the Peebles line out went towards the back of the line. The referee allowing play to continue as it was slightly slanted in the direction of Peebles, but I think the ball very much carried in the wind there. And over possession of the ball now is Collins, scrum half, on in towards Chisholm, trying to be the architect and the creator just in the midfield at the moment for a Peebles side trailing by 12 points to 5. Back it comes to the number 8 Finlay Sinclair, who makes some ground inside Berwick territory. Collins once more on towards the fullback Anderson, out on that left hand side, and again applying a little bit of acceleration. The pass is gathered in by Collins, and Collins is finding himself somewhat stationary there as he had nowhere to run to as he took possession of the ball, because Berwick had players swarming around him. He's able to recycle and work the ball out towards the right hand side to the Peebles number 8. Sinclair takes the ball into an attacking situation and into the tackle. Anderson mops up the fullback on towards the skipper Finlay Collins. Collins into the contact situation, back towards David Collins now, on towards Ian Chisholm. Lovely footwork there from Chisholm, and the pass on towards David David Collins, and Collins is over for a score, and you have to say that was wonderful play, particularly from the two half-backs to open up the Berwick defence. It's right underneath the sticks, and we're a kick away from this game being all square.
Yeah, and it was the exact same. The exact same thing happened twice in that phase of play. It was a Chisholm. Chisholm and Collins 1-2. Chisholm made a break on 2 occasions, inside ball to Collins the second, which has resulted in a try under the sticks, and yet Peebles of course right back in this kick to come, and it's maybe just starting to look a wee bit ominous for Berwick now. They need to find something from somewhere rather.
You feel that perhaps Collins there was just thinking a step or two ahead, Ian Chisholm also, and that's how the move came off for the Peebles players, as watching on right in front of the sticks, and just enough on that kick there from Free McKeever. He was under pressure as the Berwick players were rushing from underneath the post, and it was well inside the 22, but he was striking that ball as if it was filled with lead.
Yeah, it was actually it was partially charged down, and he's a very lucky young man. So yeah, we've seen a penalty restart and almost a charge down. 2 things you don't see all that often nowadays.
Berwick are also down a man because they've been shown a yellow card. We'll get confirmation of that as well. There's been quite a lot going on just off the ball as well, but the referee, I think, has brandished a yellow card, so Berwick, it would seem, level pegging now at 12 points all, and also down a man. I must say I didn't see the referee brandish the card, but we'll get confirmation of that as the scoreline is 12 all. Berwick then just on the ropes at the moment as Peebles come forward again through Chisholm on his own 10 metre line, 3 to his right hand side. On go Berwick, and Free once more on the right hand channel is tackled just on the Berwick 10 metre line, 5 metres in from touch. They play the ball back in field through the hands of Sinclair, but they're forced backwards there as Berwick remain determined defensively. David Collins, latest try scorer for Peebles side, back on level terms, so the tries coming from Chisholm and from Collins, the two half backs for Peebles this afternoon, and it's David Collins that has it once more. He was instrumental a little earlier on in finding a bit space inside that 22 and could have lost possession but didn't. They have now, and Berwick are making a little heavy weather of trying to protect the ball just outside of their 22, aided somewhat by some handling issues from a Peebles stance as Peebles have knocked the ball on. You can see that Free McKeever is down receiving a little bit of treatment, and with that we'll head back to Stuart Cameron for further updates from around the country.
Okay, updates in the Premiership. 12-10 still, Glasgow Hawks against Currie. Hawks just getting the lead there. Hoyk 12, Mar 3. Sean Muir and Gareth Welsh getting the tries for them. They're in a good position at the moment. Jed Forrest 20, Heriots 20. Yes, it's all square there as well. Dominic Martin, who I'm sure played for Howard Fife back in the day, put Heriots in front, but Greg Young's come on now, converted try, 20 all at Riverside Park. Musselburgh 3, Edinburgh Accies 20, Selkirk 6, GHA 7 are latest scores.
One or two very close run things involving border sides this afternoon, involving Jed, involving Kelso, and here in this fixture. Peebles making the journey over from the west of the borders, from Tweeddale right down to Northumberland. Berwick, of course, in affiliation with the RFU and the SRU. Same applies with London Scottish, of course. And a change for Berwick, probably as a consequence of that yellow card, because I could see that it seemed to be Hugh Tizer that was feeding the ball into that Berwick scrum there. Another player that's come off the bench for Berwick. So too has Luke Holborn, wearing 16 this afternoon, and it's taken on there by Duncan Hardy. Hardy with some determination on this left hand side up towards the edge of the halfway line. Peebles again getting themselves back to their feet, recycled once more by Luke Holborn. So Holborn taking on the scrum half duties just at the moment. In fact, it's Cammy Rogerson, I should say. Cammy Rogerson taking on the scrum half duties just at the moment for Berwick. Once more it's recycled on towards Chisholm. Chisholm's pass was forward there as the ball was taken on by Ryan Wilson. Referee allowing play to continue there, didn't spot that the pass was a little bit forward. Jack Webster once again out towards the right hand side. Referee signalling the Berwick knock on. Peebles allowing play to continue. The referee watching as Peebles have launched one forward downfield, scampering after that one is James Thompson. The ball goes into touch inside that 22. So just confirmation it's Cammy Rogerson who's wearing 18 and is on as the auxiliary scrum half for Berwick just now.
And just a quick update, it's Bigger 17 now, Gala 17. Jordan McLean has got a try with a yellow card given to Tim McAvanagh, and also a latest update from Stony Hill. It's Musselburgh 10, Edinburgh 25.
50-22 downfield, perfectly well executed from Peebles there, and you could see the determination of James Thompson. He knew what was at stake because I think he could read the distance of where that kick was placed inside his own half. So an attacking platform here for Peebles, looking to turn the screw. 12-5 at half time, 12-all now the scoreline, and Peebles again on the attack as Anderson feeds the ball out. It's allowed to bounce once there. Murray Brown taking the ball inside the 22. Tackle comes in there from James Thompson. Peebles looking to reorganise. David Collins back, recycling ball, but Berwick defensively doing enough to win the penalty, and that was a 50-22 that did come off this time. There's been one or two occasions, Robin, where we thought that might be the case in the first half, but Berwick have been able to close the door left and right. They couldn't on this occasion, but Peebles unable to capitalise on their territorial advantage.
Yeah, and looked there that Peebles had a penalty deep in the Berwick 22, but it's actually Berwick who are the beneficiaries of that one, so they've cleared over our heads in this stand here, and it's going to be a Berwick line-out. But yeah, it's all been Peebles in this second half. It was all Peebles in the last 15 or so minutes in the first half as well, and Berwick need to claw their way back into this.
Throw in then for Berwick. Ryan Wilson looking for a little bit of movement in the line. Again, it's well contested there because he was aiming for Mason Emery just at the front off the line. Peebles getting hands on the ball, knocking forward. Real blast from the referee's whistle, and I think he's getting a little bit impatient now, our match official this afternoon, Greg Cameron. He did play an extended period, it seemed, in the first 40 minutes that was nearer 51 minutes in the end, and he's marching now with a bit of purpose, and every time he's digging the studs in to line the marks for the line out, and that he's cutting a more frustrated figure. If he has gone to the pocket once, he may well do again very soon. Yeah, he's not accepting of any chat, put it that way. Peebles throw inside the Berwick 22. Almost like a dart player readying himself for an important 3 throws, but they only get one here, and that was thrown in by John Napier. Referee again at the heart of the action, penalising Berwick. Concerning times for these Berwick supporters that will be just wondering if this long unbeaten run is going to really be threatened this afternoon. It appears to be at the moment. 12 points all the scoreline. One of the Berwick back row forwards is down receiving or is about to receive a little bit of treatment, and you can see it's Mason Emery who's often involved in the line-outs. He's just sitting upright, getting back to his feet as the physio makes her way across the field. It's an opportunity for both sets of players then to join up in a huddle, and I'm sure just talk over aspects of the second half. Since the interval, we know that we're now on level terms after a excellent try. The architect Ian Chisholm, David Colvin, was able to finish things off the scrum half. David Collins, I should say, who scored last weekend, so that's 2 tries and 2 appearances. Newton, Stewart and Berwick, he scored so far this season.
I see the gargantuan figure of Carl Gullen has re-entered the fray, the Berwick prop, and probably a clear signal that they need some reinforcements to shore up that scrum.
Yeah, Gullen readying himself, wrapping his arms round the hooker there, who's alongside him. Ryan Wilson starting in the front row with Carl Gullen and Darren Goodfellow for Berwick, and they're on the defensive at the moment. They're put in here. Peebles looking to David Collins, who landed that try in the second half. Collins then disappears behind those in the front row, pops up once the ball is into the scrum. Penalty awarded again to Berwick. A scrum penalty, rather to Peebles. Scrum penalty conceded by Berwick on the edge of the 22. no real momentum in the game just at the moment. A succession of errors mainly from Berwick, it has to be said.
Yeah, and certainly an error that coughed up the penalty at that scrum, and Collins, the scrum half, actually looked like he might take it quickly. He looked to his player coach Ian Chisholm for guidance, and almost a look of death back in return to say, don't be so ridiculous, son, we are having another scrum. And that's exactly what has transpired here. We've got complete dominance in that area, and they're going to try and milk that for everything that it's worth, I would imagine.
12 minutes past 4 on a Saturday afternoon. Scrummage for Peebles inside the Berwick 22. Collins into the scrum, controlled by the Peebles number 8. Collins watching it all the way. It's been snatched by Berwick though and immediately dropped as Berwick were looking just to interrupt the flow of the scrum, much to the delight of Jack Webster and his teammates. They've won a penalty on the edge of the 22, and that was a much better outcome there, and perhaps the reintroduction of Carl Gullen had something to do with that, but that is it's a chance for Berwick just to find some relief, as I can see a Peebles player is down receiving a bit of treatment inside that Berwick 22. There's going to be a stoppage in play, and we'll use this opportunity to get back to Stuart, who'll take us round the grounds.
Yes, little update for you. Glasgow Hawks 12, Curry 17. Now, all season Curry's been down early on and then coming back strongly, and they've taken the lead at Glasgow Hawks 17 points to 12. Hoyk 15, Mar 3, a further penalty adding to their score. A couple of tries early on. Jed Forrest have now gone back into the lead. It's Jed Forrest 23, another Finlay Scott penalty there. Herriot's 20. Remember, Jed Forrest in 8th, Herriot's bottom of the table, so a big game for both sides there. Musselburgh 10, Edinburgh Accies 30. That one seems to be going to plan. Selkirk 6, GHA 14. That's in the Premiership. A quick look at National 1. Aberdeen 17, Watsonians 17, Ayr 24, Stumel 0, Bigger 17, Gala 17, Dundee 22, Melrose 19, GHK 10, Stirling County 20, and Kelso 19 now, Highland 6.
Yeah, stay with us through to the conclusion of this afternoon's fixtures. We'll bring you all the results from around the country involving border clubs and the teams in their respective divisions. And here at Scremerston, it remains 12 points all, getting up towards the midway point in the second half. A converted try for Peebles in the early stages of the second period, and Berwick now have the throw-in just down below us. Ryan Wilson looking to find Peebles' hands in the line. Greg Cameron with the arms raised, the referee just at the back of the line. Some movement. Gullen is the lifter. Berwick again just can't get clean hands on the ball. It's stolen by Peebles at the back of the line. David Collins goes in once more, is able to find Chisholm across on that left hand side. There's some room for Anderson to place a grubber kick into that 22. The kick and chase is on there again. Berwick are trying to read the situation and close the door on Peebles as they're backtracking down that left hand side. Berwick come across again just to try and close the door. They've won possession practically on their own try line. They'll need to try and find a route to get themselves clear of this 22, and just phase after phase here will be required just to get some distance. So the ball is played back to Webster, which it is now, and Webster is able to take it left footed, play the ball down closer to that 10-metre line, but still inside the 22, so the pressure still being applied by Peebles on this Berwick side, protecting this long unbeaten run. And 12 points all at the scoreline. We'll bring Robin Purdie back in just a moment. Collins, quick line out taken there by Peebles, on this time towards Murdo Anderson, trying to dance his way through the defensive cover supplied there by Berwick. On towards Chisholm, again inside centre, takes the ball on. Luke pass out towards John Napier on the left hand side. Now it's Anderson that takes the ball forward. Donald Anderson up inside that 22, tackle, gets up, goes again, is tackled once more. The experienced fullback Anderson, been around for such a long time, number of years, seen it and done it all pretty much in a Peebles jersey. He'll have plenty of stories to tell about his time with the club, but right now he's looking to find a way through this Berwick defence. Another Berwick player is down, having received an injury to the right boot and ankle by the looks of it. In fact, Berwick have 2 players on the turf at the moment, so Greg Cameron, the referee, will bring play to a halt just now. But these are concerning times for Berwick, and you could argue concerning times in some ways for Peebles, because they're not perhaps finding that ruthless streak they need to get themselves in front in the game.
Yeah, they're certainly knocking at the door, and they have been for a while. And they took that line out over on that far side really quickly, Stuart, and I think that Peebles maybe think that they've got Berwick's number from a fitness point of view here. They're looking to maintain a high tempo, and yeah, Jack Webster, I think it is taking a bang to the head, which is kind of taking the sting out of things. But yeah, Peebles just look to have the bit between their teeth at the moment.
Yeah, Jack Webster back on his feet, just removing the gum shield. The physio with him just at the moment, just applying a cold compress on the head and the back of the neck there, and he's having a word with the referee. He's just walking away from the physio at the moment, and I think he's calling for a water bottle just to take a quick drink and just soak the hands a little bit. And with some determination and purpose, he heads back to his position just almost on his own try line. Hands just either side of him at the moment as he readies himself this scrummage then for Peebles. They have the put in here. Their try scorer in the second half was their scrum half, David Collins, waiting patiently to feed the ball in to the scrum. Cammy Rogerson now is the player alongside him, the replacement scrum half in this second half for Berwick. Ball into that scrum. Berwick having had a spell with a yellow card as well in the second half, so not adding to the pressure that they've been under.
Slightly better scrum from Berwick there.
Yeah, you wonder if the inclusion of the man you mentioned a little bit earlier, Carol Gullen, if that is really making a difference in the front row. It maybe just changes the complexion of the scrummage and how Peebles are approaching the scrum, but he is a giant unit of a man, he really is. Collins then, again just standing behind referee Greg Cameron, and Cameron just providing the calls. He's quite long in the bind before the set, and then they engage. And he works it in, and this is again a quicker scrummage, controlled just at the base. Another penalty awarded. Peebles look to try and take a quick tap and go there inside that Berwick 22. They look to try and reorganise here. Collins down once more. Again, Peebles swarming around the Berwick defence, but Berwick likewise protecting the try line with their lives at the moment. They know very much what's at stake. Another fairly high challenge coming in this time on Ian Chisholm, and Peebles appealing that they're across the line there. Their players are hauled back to their feet. I think it could well be Rowan McKeever who's finished off that move from a Peebles point of view. There seemed to be a high challenge in the mix as well there. We can see one of the Berwick players still down, Ewan Thompson. He's just getting himself back up right now. What a significant time to score, Robin, because this is the first time that Peebles have found themselves in front in the game.
Yeah, and it's no less than they've deserved on the balance of play. And yeah, eventually it was McKeever that flopped over. I think there was almost a case for a penalty try in there, Stuart. It was a high shot on Chisholm right on the line. He managed to regurgitate possession, if you like, into the grateful arms of McKeever, who fell over the line. And yeah, this is a test of Berwick's mettle now. Is that run that we've spoken about so often going to come to an end here at Scremerson today?
Placing the ball on the tee now, free McKeever. So one McKeever scores the try, can a brother add the extra 2 points? He shouldn't be put off as much this time with those charging towards him. I think they'll just patiently wait behind the posts. One of them now makes their way forward, Duncan Hardy it is, and that kick is beginning to swing around, but he put enough on the ball there as it crossed the bar, swung towards that left hand side. It's a conversion for Peebles, and they're in front in this match.
Let's quickly go to Hartlepool Mill. Sam Matthews, Biggar against Gala.
20 minutes gone into the second half here at Biggar versus Gala. It has been back and forth all start. The try just before half time clearly playing a factor as Biggar have got all the confidence right now. They have managed to even the scores after a yellow card for Tim McCavanagh of Gala. 17 all at the 60-minute mark.
19 points to 12 then, Peebles lead in this game. They're in front for the first time. Berwick then in possession of the ball at the moment. Ewan Thompson inside Peebles territory. In behind him is Cammy Rogerson, looking to recycle, brings Webster into play, tried to play a sharp pass, deflected of the forearms there of Rob Harrison, who was flying through, knocked on by Berwick hands, signals the referee this afternoon, Greg Cameron. So it'll be another scrimmage on halfway, and Peebles will be quite happy that this is the case. Berwick can ill afford these interruptions.
Okay, a couple of updates. Musselburgh 17, Enbrakis 37, Selkirk 9, GHA 14, Jed Forest 30 now, Heriots 20. So looks like another bonus point try for Jed Forest. It's 24-16 to Kelso now, so that's also a bonus point try for them. Dundee 25, Melrose 19, and also we have Ayr 29, Stuart Melville 7.
Yeah, these stoppages in play, breaks in play now as Berwick go chasing the game. It's not really what they're looking for because they've struggled in the scrum. The inclusion of Carl Gullen, I think, has steadied the ship somewhat, but they're under a bit of pressure. But the great determination there shown by the replacement scrum half, Cammy Rogerson, so much so that Rogerson has forced Peebles into the knock-on, and that reverses the fortunes. Berwick will have a put in this time.
Yeah, he's looked lively since he came on, Rogerson, and that his ability to force that error from Peebles all stemmed from the more structured and the more solid Berwick scrum. So yeah, centre field position here, Berwick, they've had very little by way of territory in this second half, and let's see what they can do from here. It's about as far forward as they've been for a while.
Yeah, after a bright start, Peebles edged their way, and it was a tentative opening from the visiting side, but they edged their way into the contest and were the more dominant side going into half time, and have certainly controlled long periods of the second half, so much so that they're now in front by 19 points to 12. The scrummage working its way all the way around there, the referee penalising. Great movement in that scrummage there as it was working its way around more than the 90 degrees, and the referee Greg Cameron just waiting before play will resume with another penalty from the hands of Ian Chisholm, as Jack Webster comes across as a quick word with the referee, and he'll head back with his players. Remember the sides, Peebles 4th in the table, Berwick 8th coming into this contest, and the 4th place side from the Gites are holding all the aces at the moment, it would seem.
Yeah, and normality returned there with the strong Peebles scrum, which forced the penalty, and Chisholm sent that across the field down. He's going to give his side an attacking line out right in the Berwick 22, and it's all Peebles at the moment.
Getting news through, I think Dan Gillespie scored a try for Jed Forest to extend their advantage. Remember interviewing him after Jed Forest winning the Berwick 7 some years ago, so he's rolling back the years, turning out for Jed, but such is their need for players at the moment, it would seem, as we're watching Darren Goodfellow staying upright, loose head prop, taking the ball into contact for Berwick. Back it comes then to Webster. Webster very deliberately through the hands of the fullback Hindhaugh. Berwick now looking to try and gain ground beyond that 22. They've got the advantage coming now. Hardy again just tries to find a little gap, but he's wrapped in the tackle of the jerseyed players in red and white. The advantage was relatively short-lived after another high challenge, this time on a Berwick player. And there's two players on the turf. It's the Berwick number 8, Ali Grieve, and Ian Chisholm. They stayed down for a fairly lengthy period of time before both got up and got back into position. And Stuart Cameron has further scores before play resumes here as we go into the closing stages of this one.
Okay, Curry extending their lead at Glasgow Hawks. It's now 31-12 to them. Hoyk 15, Mar 3 still latest score. Jed Forest, as you mentioned there, Darren Gillespie try following up the Mason Cullen try from earlier. 37-20 to Jed Forest. Now it's Musselburgh 17, Emberackies 44, and Selkirk 9. It's GHA 14. Quickly into National 1. Still evens at Rubislaw, Aberdeen 17, Watsonians 17.
Perhaps no surprise it's taken Edinburgh a little bit of time, but they're opening up a handsome advantage as they're looking at the top of the table this evening, with Curry Chieftains and Glasgow Hawks playing one another, of course. All those three sides and 21 points coming into the action this afternoon. 19 points to 12 for Peebles. They're in front at the moment, in possession of the ball, up towards halfway, inside their own half off the field just now. That's looked to be recycled by one of their second half try scorers, Collins, out towards that left hand side. And again, Peebles looking to gain some ground on the left hand channel with James Doe. Back in field it goes, and once more Finlay Collins, back row forward, is tackled this time by Carol Gullen. Advantage coming the way of Peebles as Chisholm now, little delicate chip. The chase wasn't on there, it was gathered immediately by Cammy Rogerson, but once it was in Berwick hands, the referee called a halt to the Advantage, comes back for the penalty, and Berwick's discipline is going to be key now to any chance they're going to have of finding a way back into this contest. They're far from out of it, but Peebles, just the way they've taken the game by the scruff of the neck since about the 30th minute, it's made it much harder for Berwick to really have more than a foothold in the contest.
Yeah, and some of these Berwick players will be in uncharted territory here as Chisholm has missed touch.
And it's returned with a bit of interest down. Well, the intention was to return it with a bit of interest, but it was played straight out. It was close towards the touchline and played straight out of play there. So it'll be another throw in for the visiting side inside that Berwick 22.
Yeah, it's actually turned out to be a good net result for Chisholm there. He missed touch, the Berwick player, then sort of shanked it, I guess. Their touch judge is moving slightly further forward, but it's still going to be a good territorial gain from that penalty for Peebles with a line out to come on the Berwick 22, Stuart.
Yeah, a few false jumps as Berwick and Peebles organise themselves. One or two shadows just cast a little bit longer on the Scremerston turf now as we're watching Peebles then looking for a fourth try this afternoon and a try bonus. Well, they've done the first part to find Finlay Collins at the back of the line. Murdo Anderson coming on at a rate of knots there, but forced back the outside centre. Chisholm has it once again, on through the hands now to Anderson. Anderson to Frey McKeever. McKeever is bundled to the ground. Real determination coming in there and shown by James Thompson, the inside centre for Berwick this afternoon. Recycled ball once more. Advantage coming the way of Peebles. Outstretched arm of the referee. Short advantage played again. And is he going to his pocket? He is, and he's going to show another card to a Berwick player. He had the card out. He's, I think, yet to properly brandish the card, but it's been out the pocket for a little while there. Turning away in disgust is Dan Goodfellow. And
repeat offender, I think.
Yeah.
Or taking one for the team. Actually, I think repeat offending by Berwick.
And it's their back row forward open side flanker James Grieve who's been shown the yellow card, and Grieve will make his way towards the touchline, and Jack Webster kind of a more frustrated figure now, as you can imagine. Berwick down to 14 men, Peebles leading by 19 points to 12, and it's more than just simply the 4 points, possibly 5 points up for grabs for Peebles this afternoon. From a Berwick point of view, it's the end of a run and perhaps the end of an era.
Yeah, and I thought Peebles penalty there, maybe 4 or 5 metres outside the 22, reasonably central. I thought they might have gone for the post there, but Ian Chisholm is having none of that, and Peebles looking to put their foot on the throat of Berwick here, and the places just went flat, Stuart.
Yep. They'll regroup and reorganise though, Berwick. That's been one aspect that has served them so well in recent times, and had that fine success at Murrayfield back in 2019. At the moment though, they're needing to show some real determination as Peebles have the ball in hand with Collins, the scrum half, on towards Chisholm. Again, the midfield coming in at a rate of knots there. Latest one was Murdo Anderson to take the ball into contact. Up against the 14 men now of Berwick. Again, they recycle in the heart of that Berwick 22. Collins once more, on then towards Chisholm. Chisholm then, with his back towards the posts, is attacking, is able to plant the ball back and should find Peebles' hands again. Approaching the closing stages of this one at Scremerston. 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon. Collins back in field. Drive is on here as the Peebles forwards and backs just taking it in turns, latching on. Chisholm to that Collins pass out towards the right hand side, slowed up. Real determination in these Berwick tackles as they're coming in at regular intervals now to slow up the charge. Latest Peebles player that is bundled backwards is Murdo Anderson outside centre, trying to put a little bit of width on this as it's across on that left hand side. 1-on-1 situation opens up. Peebles player literally does lose his jersey across on the far side. The jersey is then lobbed beyond the advertising hoardings. It's back with Chisholm once more, on towards the inside centre Rob Harrison. Harrison tries to make some ground, still inside the 22, but no closer than that 5 metre line. Desperate stuff here from Berwick, and are Peebles going to be in for a score? I think the double movement might deny them the try. The referee raising the arm, but there seemed to be a little bit of double movement in Peebles making their way underneath the posts. The referee, I think, signalling the infringement, and Berwick will be able to live and breathe just that little bit longer, as 19 points to 12 is the scoreline. But Stuart, elsewhere around the country, results will be coming in a few minutes' time.
They certainly will. We can go to Poynter Park though. Latest from Andrew Fleming, Kelso against Highland.
10 minutes remaining at Poynter Park, and it's Kelso 24, Highland 21. Kelso extended their lead with a wonderful converted try from Liam Herdman before Magnus Henry of Highland showed a great turn of pace to score from his own half. Dwayne Patterson added a penalty for the hosts, but the visitors have responded with 2 quick-fire tries from Gordon Gregor and Hugo Cash. Kelso 24, Highland 21.
Peebles throwing the ball in, but rather Berwick throwing the ball into the line out across on that far side. Jack Webster has possession of the ball now. So the Berwick line out producing an attacking platform here just on the 10 metre line, and determination from Berwick turns into desperation as they look to recycle the ball on their own 10, resulting in a penalty as they overcook things. And I wonder if Peebles are going will they have a pop at the post here? Is it calm enough of an afternoon to have a go at the posts, or will they go to the corner?
Yeah, it would be sort of against what they did the last time. They're further out and they went for the corner. So yeah, it looks like Chisholm's taking charge and he's going to send this one as far as he can, and he looks like he's made a decent fist of it.
Yeah, again, we talked about Jack Webster's range. Chisholm has fine range as well. That's an aspect of his game that has certainly improved over the years, the distances that he can find from hand, and just his all-round game has improved. I remember he suffered, was it down at Poynter Park, quite a nasty leg break that slowed him up for some time in terms of his overall rugby development, but he's watching on now as Peebles with the line out. It's won by Berwick though. It's Berwick hands possession of the ball there. Mason Emery winning possession for Berwick. A chance for them then to exit inside their 22. Remember, they're down to 14 men, having lost the services of James Grieve to a yellow card, trailing by 19 points to 12. And they're looking just to cement their place in this division. Ali Grieve down that right hand side, wee side door pass, doesn't find a man. Ball is fed into touch then as a consequence, and Berwick time just ebbing away. A few more minutes of this match left to play. Referee having played nearly 11 minutes of extra time at the end of the first half. It's difficult to know just how much longer the game will go on here, as 7 points separate the sides. Free kick awarded to Peebles, again in and around the fringes of that Berwick 22, and the time is very much the enemy now of the home side. Yeah,
and you used the word a short while ago, desperation, and that's exactly what that was. Ali Grieve had done the hard part. He'd made a decent carry, but he looked to offload it, sort of almost Sevens style in his own 22. Obviously trying to protect this famous home record, but yeah, back Peebles territory here, and they've got an attack. There was only going to be one option for them when they got the free kick, and that was the scrum. And you mentioned Chisholm before. I've been particularly impressed with him since about the 20-minute mark. He's really taken the game by the scruff of the neck, and he's directed this Peebles outfit around the park superbly.
Yeah, when you look at the table as well, a win for Peebles this afternoon, given Kirkcaldy's fine form of late, with their 3 wins from 3 and going well this afternoon. Peebles in 4th place in the table. This would be a good victory for them. We talked about the consequences of a defeat for Berwick, but Peebles have eyes on the top places in the table, and this would be a decent return for them heading back to the Gates. Mazy run here from Ronan McKeever, who's already scored a try from close range, the 3rd for Peebles in this match, the 2nd coming in this second period. The 2 half-backs of Chisholm and Collins also on the score sheet. Peebles continue to drive forward with some real purpose here, close towards the try line, peppering the try line, out towards the left-hand side. A 1-on-1 situation trying to open up, and Peebles again. Players almost losing the jersey, and such is their desperation to cross the line. Their back row forward, Finlay Collins and captain, almost up and over. A bonus point try would surely seal the victory for Peebles this afternoon. Once more they go again. The Ranger lock forward with the blue scrum half, Cameron Pye. Scrum cap on his head. Cameron Pye doesn't finish things off, but he's able to find a man who does. And they're over for a score in injury time. to win the game. There's a little bit of afters involving a few of the Berwick players. The referee is going to have a long hard look before signalling that the try is good. And Cameron Pye right at the thick of things, but he was able to offload. Peebles had men out just on that right hand side, close to being underneath the posts to get the score. The referee just calling time off.
Yeah, game over. Stuart, you have to say that is it. As I said before, Scremerston has fallen for the first time since 2017. Referee's going to have a word with, I think, both captains here. But yeah, Peebles have been utterly dominant since midway through the first half, and this victory is no less than deserved, and a bonus point victory at that. I think Ian Chisholm will be absolutely delighted with his charges this afternoon.
Yeah, the referee in conversation with the two captains, because there was a real coming together of players, so much so that it sort of obscured the ball carrier going underneath the post to identify exactly who it was. But it was a fine piece of play from Cameron Pye. Lovely pass just towards the right hand side. It's all about doing the simple stuff well, and Peebles had players queuing up to run in underneath the posts and land the try bonus. 24 points to 12 with the kick to come. And Free McKeever will take all the time in the world to try and land these extra 2 points. And well, from Berwick's point of view, they're bound to be disappointed. This day was always going to come, as the conversion is good and the referee signals there's still time to play. So 26 points to 12 is the scoreline, as Peebles make their way back towards the halfway line. Down to 14 men. It was going to be a tough ask after wave of possession from a Peebles point of view, and they were able to work their way across the line for the score, the fourth try. High up and under, and it's gathered by Murdo Anderson of Peebles. They'll certainly have their tails up. It will be a welcome journey back up to Tweeddale this evening, as another kick from Chisholm just carries the halfway line, near side, just down on the right hand side. The referee has another glance at the watch, makes his way across to the assistant on this near side line out. This the closest to our position.
Yeah, it's been very much been the Chisholm show for much of this game. Another great kick there by the experienced campaigner, the ex-Jed man.
Berwick then reorganising in the line. Ryan Wilson with the throw in, finds Berwick hands once more, quickly down towards Rogerson, recycles the ball with the outside centre James Thompson up towards the halfway line. He's clawed to the ground just short of halfway. Recycled again by Rogerson. Peebles playing a very high defensive line, just trying to interrupt the freedom of movement of these Berwick players when they're trying to play phases and passages of play with hands in the ball. Forced back just beyond their own 10 metre line at the moment. There is a real sort of feeling of defeatism around the Scremerston at the moment. Defeatist attitude, it seems, from those in the stand, although one or two cries have come on Berwick cheering them on. But it's been a well worked performance from Peebles, it has to be said. Good game management, particularly after it took them a little while to settle into the contest, and this is going to be a valuable victory for them as they look up the table. Berwick will want to recover quickly from this, and they won't want anything to the rot, so to speak, to set into the club, as line out infringement on the edge of that Peebles 22.
First bit of territory this for Berwick for as long as I can remember, and there's actually still there's a losing bonus point up for grabs here, Stuart.
If they can get another try on the board and get back to within 7 points, which is eminently achievable, certainly if they can execute well at this line out, they'll certainly come away with something. Again, a little bit of movement as Ryan Wilson, but Berwick, their line out was a little bit more secure in the first half, less so in the second. Set pieces have been an area where they've perhaps been second best at times, but they're doing well down this right hand side. Berwick again then looking to recycle. They pick and go once more. Determination shown from the likes of Ali Grieve and Luke Holborn have really put themselves about in the contest. Mason Emery also. in the back row for Berwick. They recycle again. Round the corner. Again trying to work a position is Adam Hardy. On towards Grieve, number 8. Again, his offload, not for the first time, has forced Berwick players to scramble around. The ball is knocked on. A lot of spectators in the stand looking at their watches, looking down at the match referee. Into the final few moments of this contest at Scremerston. Scoreline reminder, it's 26 points to 12 in favour of Peebles. So Berwick, that would mean that they would lose for a second time this season. This is their 4th match of the campaign, 2 wins and a defeat from their opening 3 fixtures. Peebles have played 4 matches coming into today's game, 3 wins and 1 defeat. Berwick making another change for the final few seconds of this second half, but still inside that Peebles 22 and still chance of a bonus point try. And again, if you're not going to win the game, certainly want to come away with something, and that's incentive enough to play for. Yeah, in a division that looks like it might be, reasonably tight. I think it's important that Berwick don't catastrophise about it. Rather, they're 2 from 2 in a division that they've just come up into. So, this run that we keep referring back to, it was always going to come to an end in this division somewhere along the line, and Peebles definitely one of the better sides in the division. Yep, Berwick awarded the penalty, much to the delight of a clutch of supporters just along to our left-hand side, as Berwick looking to ping this one towards the corner. Webster does so. It's the last knockings of the contest, and Berwick down towards that 5-metre line. I'll throw the ball into this line out. So last chance saloon stuff for a score for Berwick before the end of the contest. Across then comes Ryan Wilson, readies himself to throw the ball into the line out. The assistant's flags fluttering. A glorious afternoon at Scremerston again towards the front of the line. Ball rather unceremoniously lands down towards Ewan Thompson, but he's able to gather possession of the ball. Grieve driving up close, but not quite close enough. This time the huge figure of Carl Gullen. Now Gullen plants the ball back, makes it available inside those final 5 metres. They pick and go once more. Berwick getting closer and closer towards the line. Gullen will get himself back on his feet. Will it be required? Thompson, you can see the determination there of both the Peebles defence and of Thompson trying to stay upright and stay in possession of the ball. Gullen right in the thick of things, wearing the 22 jersey for Berwick this afternoon, reaching in there. You can see Rogerson looking to make himself available. So too is Grieve, the Berwick number 8, who's really putting himself about the part. It's exhausting stuff for Berwick, but it's rewarding stuff for Berwick, because they're over for a try right at the very end of the contest in that right hand corner, and it may well not be enough to secure at least a draw in the game, because they'll need to convert and score again, but they've got that little bit closer to the bonus point try.
Yeah, and I think it was Thompson, the second rower, who's come up with a try, and this is a massively important kick here for Jack Webster at 26 points to 17 against. There is a bonus point here, a losing bonus point if he secures this. So yeah, big kick for Webster here.
Yeah, final few seconds of the game. Remember, Jack Webster converted his own try in the early stages of the contest. We're assuming that it was indeed Ewan Thompson who scored the try. That would be a 3rd try for Berwick this afternoon. Ali Grieve, the Berwick number 8, also on the score sheet, as well as Webster's try. So 17 points to 26 the scoreline. All eyes then on Jack Webster. Hands on his thighs at the moment as he leans forward and makes his way. Clean strike of the ball, it's in flight, and the assistants, no doubt about that, they raise the flags, much to the delight of the supporters, and the referee wastes no time in blowing for full time. So 19 points to 26 the final score. It means a fine run in recent years of Berwick winning and remaining undefeated at home comes to an end. But all credit to Peebles with 4 tries on the board, a bonus point victory. They'll move onwards and upwards in the division. For Berwick, I suppose it's a season where they'll want to consolidate and be satisfied with that, although they have aspirations for bigger and better things in the future. Not quite enough then for Berwick this afternoon, but credit to Peebles. After 20 minutes they were trailing at half time. It was 12 points to 5, but they turned things round with an impressive second half display, scoring 4 tries in all to win by 26 points to 19.
Thank you very much indeed to our commentary team. Robin Purdie and Stuart McFarlane will hopefully get some reaction, because that was another 51-minute second half, so lots going on. I can quickly tell you that it's full time at Glasgow Hawks against Currie. We're just working out whether it was 38-12 or 39-12. We've got a bit of a dispute on that, but certainly no dispute about the winners. Currie winning at Glasgow Hawks. Hoyk 20, Mar 3 is a latest score. They're still playing there. Final score at Riverside Park: Jed Forest 51, Heriots 20. A late Clark Skeldon adding to the misery for Heriots, who stay bottom. Musselburgh 17, Edinburgh Accies 56 is a final score, and Selkirk have won at Philip Hawke with a try bonus. It's Selkirk 28, GHA 14. We do have the final scores from National 1 now. It's Aberdeen 17, Watsonians 28, Ayr 29, Stuart's Melville 14. Biggar 17, Gala 23, a win for Gala. Dundee 25, Melrose 26. That's a win for Melrose on the road at the death. GHK 17, Stirling County 23, and wait for it, Kelso 24, Highland 21, which means that I think it's a clean sweep for all the Borders teams today. We'll confirm all that very, very shortly, but we'll be back after the break.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Hello, this is George Ingalls here, and I'm thrilled that my songs are now available on 2 albums, Anthology and Lockdown Blues.
Late in the evening, she's wondering what clothes to wear.
Both available on iTunes to download and stream.
I am the train, been gone since 69.
George Ingalls Anthology and Lockdown Blues. Check them out now on iTunes and other digital sites.
Hi, Mickey Walker here, Curriculum Learning Manager for Sports and Outdoor Activities at Borders College. Have you ever considered turning your passion for sport into a rewarding career? If so, then why not get in touch at borderscollege.ac.uk/sport.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available, featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 Years On, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, The Complete Borders Railway, is available now.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio with Stuart Cameron.
Yes, welcome back to Scremiston, where it's finished here 26 points to 19 to Peebles. So the big record has gone, unfortunately, but they do get a losing bonus point. So let's give you these results again before we think we can go down pitch side right now. Jack Webster, the captain of Berwick, is with Micki Iannotta.
Jack, I've got to tell you, that was a gruelling affair. Take us through it.
Yeah, that's a very tough physical, what you'd expect for a border derby. We didn't have the ball, I don't think. Had a lot of the ball first sort of 20 minutes, got a couple of tries, and I think we spent the next 60 minutes just defending. Credit to Peebles, they kept holding the ball well, they frustrated us. But I don't think we really got going after that 20 minutes, to be honest with you.
High penalty count?
Yeah, it's tough, we're trying to adjust to the referee. Again, Peebles were... they were hot on the ball, they were putting men into rocks, and we maybe weren't dealing with it enough. But that's up to us to adapt, high penalty count, and we'll have to look at that for next week.
And of course, at least it gets the burden off the back of this home record. I mean, I know that's not a positive thing to say, but at least you don't have to go into each game with people like me going on about it.
To be honest, I think you guys have probably spoken about it more than us, to be fair. You know, we're aware of this good record we've got. I don't think there was probably many until you guys mentioned it, knew it went back as far as 2017. So, yeah, I mean, look, one defeat in 5 years now is still not a bad record. So, you know, we're still confident every time we come here.
But at least you've proved you're in this division, well, on merit.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we had a tough opening day up at Boroughmuir, but since then I think we've more than shown that we've got what it takes to be in this league. That was a tough one to take today, like I've said, but no, we're more than happy with what we're doing, and we'll look to put it right next week.
Okay, commiserations, Jack, but thank you very much.
So, thank you very much.
Okay, player coach Ian Chisholm. Well, you were on about earlier on about yourself conceding high penalty counts. Well, it went in your favour today.
In the second half, yeah, I felt we put them under a lot of pressure. Second half, I think we probably had the majority of the possession. Look, first half, we probably didn't get off the bus in time. I know that's a very cliche thing to say, but like intensity-wise, it wasn't there. And look, we knew that at around about the 30-minute, 40-minute, 50-minute, like that would be breaking point for them. We're a really fit side. We back our set piece and we back our ability to move the ball. Accuracy-wise, I think we could have been way better, especially for the amount of possession we had in that second half. But look, we came to get a win, and we got a bonus point, which is a real plus point for us.
It was, in a way, a close one-sided game, do you think, after 30 minutes?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it, a close one-sided game. Look, I mean, we're probably really frustrated at some of the decisions that went there. You know, BERWICK started with a penalty on half-time for me asking a question. I'm the head coach, for God's sake. Like, if I wasn't playing, I would be walking onto the pitch to ask a question about the things that we had spoken about before the game that we weren't getting any consistency on. And look at we built into the game. We built really well into the game, and some of our boys really stood up there. Line out needs a lot of work. I think we spoke about having loads of tempo in everything that we do, and we did that in every aspect of our game except the line out. BERWICK were able to disrupt a lot of our ball.
I've got to ask you, how difficult is it for you to read the game while you're playing?
I don't really know any different, if I'm honest. Like, I was a player coach at Highland, and I'm a player coach here, and you know, I generally don't do any training when there's contact, so I save myself for the weekend. But having to make substitutions and having to back my assistant coaches, a lot of those who are learning as well, it can be quite difficult. But look, I think we're pretty good and we're pretty smooth in the way that we're trying to do things now. We had 4 18-year-olds in the squad today, which is great for the club. And like I said before the game, the rest of the club is flying. We just need to catch up.
Just briefly, you've won a game, but you're never satisfied. That's a good thing about you.
No, never satisfied. And like I've said earlier in the week, we're trying to play a certain style of game, and it's a game based around space and trying to beat defences with the ball rather than trying to run through brick walls. And our players will thank us for that going down. But look, chuff with that today.
Well done. Ian, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed to Micki Iannotta with Ian Chisholm and also with Jack Webster. I think we can go to Mansfield Park now. Waiting for us there is Alan Lorimer, Hawick against Mar.
Hawick finished winners 20 points to 3 at Mansfield Park after extending their 12-3 half-time lead by just 8 points with a penalty goal by Billy Donaldson and then a try by Matty Carrier to add to first half tries by Sean Muir and Gareth Welsh. Not a great game, and one that fell hugely below expectations. Final score, Hawick 20, Mar 3.
Thank you very much indeed to Alan Lorimer. Let's go to Poynter Park. It's Kelso against Highland, and come in Andrew Fleming.
Full time at Poynter Park, and Kelso withstood a determined Highland comeback to hold out for the win. Leading 14-6 at the break, the hosts made a bright start to the second half when Liam Herdman showed a great turn of pace to break through the defence, and a beautifully weighted chip and chase resulted in a try in the corner, converted by Pattison. On the hour mark, Highland winger Magnus Henry outpaced all opponents to score an impressive try from his own half, before Pattison added a penalty for the hosts to make it 24-11. With 10 minutes remaining, the visitors from Inverness burst right into the game with 2 quick-fire tries. Henry turned provider as he delivered a try-scoring pass into Gordon Greer before scrum half Hugo Cash picked up on a loose ball to race in from his own 22. A nervy finish, but Kelso hold on to make it 5 wins from 5. It sets up an absolute cracker of a Border derby at Netherdale next week as both clubs put their 100% record on the line. Full time at Pointer Park, Kelso 24, Highland 21.
Thank you, Andrew Fleming, who was at Pointer Park today for Kelso against Highland. As he says, Stuart McFarlane, next week, unbeaten Gala play unbeaten Kelso.
Yeah, almost a clean sweep for the Border sides this afternoon, this early in the season. That's going to be a very tasty affair, and it's more than local bragging rights now. You want to be top of the table and want to really set the pace, and not much between those two sides, but whichever side does come out on top, it's going to be a huge scalp.
Absolutely, and of course the last time Kelso won at Netherdale, we love our records here on air, don't we? But I mean, that was 2006, which goes even further, and that's when Kevin Utterson was playing, Scottish international from Kelso, and he scored the winning penalty to make it 15-12. But Kelso really flying this season.
They are, and that's good for the club as well, because they've had a barren spell that's gone on way too long, given their history in the 15s game and in the 7s game, and I think that'll revive interest around Pointer Park, which is very important because they're a key figure, a key instalment in the Borders game.
And as we say, a great day for the Borders.
Really good day for the Borders, very good advert for this level of rugby down here. It was interesting, Ian Chisholm was explaining the decision that the referee gave the penalty on half time. He'd asked a question about the breakdown, the referee took exception to that, and the second half started with a penalty. But Berwick will be disappointed to have lost today, but as Micki was saying in the interview, you can see they're a competitive side, and I don't think they're going to struggle too much in this division if they can produce the form that served them well, particularly in that first quarter of the game.
Well, just going over those results in the Premiership again today, it was Glasgow Hawks 12, Curry 38, Hawick 20, Mar 3, Jed Forest 51, Heriots 20, Musselburgh 17, Embrackis 49, and Selkirk 28-14, winning there with a bonus point. And from a local perspective, Gala winning at Biggar 23-17, Melrose winning just by a point, by 26 points to 25, and Kelso against Highland. Well, you've just heard from Andrew Fleming, that ended 24 points to 21. So our closing headlines tonight in the Premiership: there were wins for Curry, Hawick, Jed Forest, Selkirk and Edinburgh Accies. In National 1, victories for Watsonians, Ayr, Gala, Melrose and also Stirling and Kelso. In the big game in National 2, it ended with a win for Peebles, a first home loss for Berwick in 5 years. Well, we'll be back again next Saturday between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock when we bring you Gala versus Kelso live from Netherdale. I just cannot wait. They're both putting their unbeaten records on the line. Hope you can join us then. But for now, from me, Stuart McFarlane, Micki Iannotta, Robin Purdie and the team, a very good afternoon to you.